There are moments in some people's lives when a revelation comes to their mind. Some call it a sixth sense, and others consider it a divine revelation, but the girl sitting on the bed thinks what is in her case. It's hard to say yet, but she's certain of something. The young lady approaches the mirror, and looking at her reflection, she understands that she has found herself in the world of one novel and even guesses, what kind of character did she become? Most likely Alice Esteban. The girl is falling off her feet now, and with shaking hands, he asks why she ended up there at this particular time and in this particular place. After which she starts crying and screaming that it finally happened and that it was the best thing that happened in her life. The maids heard all these screams and said that it seemed that the mistress had already woken up, and one of them asked where the mistress got so much energy from after 3 days of fever. The girls also understand that they are returning to hell again, but life was a bed of roses until the girl got out of bed. At this time, the main character realizes that the title of the novel in which she finds herself is called The Tyrant's Silver Flower. This book is for adults, and the theme is obsession unhealthy, romance, misunderstandings, love of men, and also drama and captivity, ecchi and hardcore, and the girl understands that thanks to the wonderful style of the author who wrote the novel, in full accordance with her tastes, she was able to endure even such a cruel plot even after 2 years, when all possible misunderstandings, misfortunes, and problems had already happened. Finally, the girl reached the neat and long-awaited finale in which her favorite genres are fully revealed. But now the young lady understands that something unexpected has happened. The doctor at this time greets the lady and asks how she is, and also if it is easier for her to breathe. The girl looking at him understands that it is Evan Elgar. He is Michael's older brother and Alice's doctor. The young lady is looking at him now, and he understands that this is a refined and ascetic person, so it's even pleasant to look at him. The girl also understands that if you think about it, she is not in such a bad position, although it is a little sad that she cannot see the main characters yet. Well, the girl thinks that sooner or later she will do it, and at this time the doctor looks at her a little worriedly, and he wonders if the girl's mind has been clouded by the illness, and if it really looks that strange. At this time, the girl thinks that all this is unimportant because, first of all, she needs to solve a couple of problems. Alice Esteban appears in the story on the very day when the main characters first meet each other, and the girl immediately plunges into eternal sleep. Now the young lady is almost crying. Hey, she thinks, how can this be? At this time, the doctor sees the state of the girl and screams in shock, turning to her, and Alice understands that her life will soon end. At this time, the woman screams that she told her to change this arrogant look, after which she pours water on the young man and screams that someone like him is generally forbidden to look in her direction. The lady with red hair also screams to let him know his place and takes the whip in her hand. Well, at that very moment, someone knocks on the room and the woman tells that person to come in. Then the maid comes into the room and asks for forgiveness. However, the woman claims that she told her not to disturb her while they were there, and also asks if the maid really misunderstood the maid, then apologizes and claims that the young mistress just suddenly got worse. The lady with red hair asks if she is on the verge of life, and the maid replies that no, and although the cold is serious, it is not that serious. The woman then asks you if you are sick, and the maid replies that yes, so it is better for the mistress not to risk it. After which the lady with red hair approaches the maid and tells her to let her know when the girl is fully recovered, to which she obeys. And the woman then turns to Edwin and says that he better turn on his brain if he wants to keep his miserable life even a little longer. Then he must obey her in everything, after which she asks if the guy understands, to which the young man only remains silent. And the lady with red hair claims that he has nothing to brag about except his mother's appearance, and in her eyes the guy is just a pathetic slave, after which she closes the door and leaves the guy alone. The main character at this time remembers how the events in the novel took place. At first, the girl turned to one of the servants and told him to do something, but he only asked in shock why he should do it. The blonde then claimed that it was because it was her order, to which Mikhail screamed that this is wrong and he is not her servant who will obey her every word. And wouldn't it be better for her to stop beating people to the brink? However, the blonde then only hit the guy in the face, and she told Mikhail to help the guy, and the girl also said that there was no need to judge her because she was just letting off steam. The young lady with a smile on her face claimed that it would be problematic if the guy fell into eternal sleep, after which she immediately sent the fair-haired young man into the room where Edwin was. But at that very moment, a brunette covered in red liquid turned to him and told the guy to get lost. Mikhail was a little scared by this, but nevertheless approached this guy, and putting down his suitcase claimed that he understood that his interlocutor could already come to terms with plunging into eternal sleep, but they won't let him out of there until he cures the guy. However, the brunette once again insisted that he should get lost. However, Mikhail began to take off his shirt and claimed that with such wounds, one does not live long, but the young gentleman will definitely survive, after which the young man used magic. However, at that very moment, it began to resonate with the wounds, after which it completely wounded Mikhail. The young lady, hearing this sound, screamed in shock, asking what it was, and when she turned around, then she saw a brunette there with Mikhail in his arms. The girl was very scared and screamed for him not to come near. But it was too late because Edwin was furious and he put the girl into a crippling sleep. Now the main character thinks that she has a headache, but she understands that the first problem is to survive. And the second is to bring the main characters together without plunging into Alice's crippled sleep. The doctor at this time turns to the young lady and says that she is almost healthy, and now we can do without examining him, but for now let the lady rest better and not overload the body once again. The girl understands that this guy has a formal speech, the initial expression on his face. But when a 7-year-old girl does such vicious things, then anyone will stop sympathizing with her. Now the main character just sighs, after which the doctor turns to her and sees that she has drooped a little. Therefore he claims that the liquid diet can already be abandoned, although pork is not very suitable for now. But her body can handle chicken or beef. The blonde then replies that it's fine and she understands. After which he thinks that the doctor may not love her, but he approaches his work responsibly and he is so kind. Well, then the young lady remembers something and realizes that she is 7 years old, and in the novel it is about a year later. Evan will fall into eternal sleep in the war where he worked as a medic, and after that the Duke will take his orphaned younger brother Michael into his home, and the main plot will begin. Now the young lady wonders if such a handsome young man will fall into eternal sleep during the war. Well, then someone reports that the lady has come to the lady. The main character then wonders if it is Karina. Then she turns around and sees a beautiful woman with ruby hair, but she only looks at the young lady furiously and then turns to the doctor and asks if the girl is okay. The young man with blonde hair answers that, yes, for now let her rest more to recover faster. The woman claims that the girl has a weak body since birth, and the young lady understands that the lady poured a lot of perfume on herself, but the smell of rot is still felt. And she was definitely with Edwin. The woman at this time claims that it is good that the girl is on the mend, after which she tells Alice to obey the doctor in everything and not to cause him unnecessary trouble. The young lady now agrees with her mother and realizes that she knew this because she read the novel, but the lady with red hair really doesn't care about Alice. Now the woman turns and leaves the young lady. The doctor then turns to her, and she claims that first she needs to eat well and that continuing to lie down is also a bad idea so she can go for a light walk after she eats. However, the main character claims that she has absolutely no appetite, which surprises the doctor. The girl also understands that it is boring to walk by herself, so she does not want to, and then turns to Evan and says that he can go, to which the guy agrees. After which he leaves the room and thinks that something is wrong with the girl, even though the illness this time was serious. But she is only 7 years old and her parents have not paid any attention to her since birth. That is why the guy sighs now. And he turns to the maid and also claims that Lady Alice said that she is not hungry yet. He also says that at such moments you need to be especially careful about choosing your diet. The maid then asks if the guy is saying that she is not hungry, because of course she cannot be hungry, because before his arrival the girl ate 3 plates of potato soup. The guy falls silent after this and the main character draws in her room. At one point she furiously puts down her pencil and looks at her drawing. And with a smile on her face she claims that this is great, because if she does this, then everything should be fine. The girl also turns to Anna and asks if she is there, to which the maid replies that she is, after which she enters the room and sees the mistress sitting on the chair. The maid is nervous, and she thinks why the mistress called her this time, and the main character understands that this servant's thoughts are written on her face, after which she turns to Anna. He answers something by saying that he obeys his mistress, and the main character with a smile on her face states that she has one request. A little while later, the lady with red hair is already getting ready to go somewhere, and one of the maids then turns to the mistress, and he tells her not to worry because she will be the most beautiful lady there, and the woman replies that of course, and the maid claims that she is already in anticipation. After all, the mistress will appear in public for the first time. The main character watches all this, and the maid at this time tells the mistress that she will definitely become the main flower of the holiday. Alice sighs and thinks that going to such a big event without an invitation is impudent. And just like in the original, Karina is getting ready for her summer vacation, influential ladies from all over Soviet society gather in a luxurious palace. This is an annual event that lasts more than one day, and usually Karina could not even dream of participating. The Duke ordered her as the Duchess's former servant not to even show her nose to him because she was uncontrollable. And the main character understands that this woman will not become the flower of high society and a laughingstock for the other ladies. Karina at this time turns to the maid and asks if she is sure that she knows the location of the palace, to which she replies that of course, and she checked everything several times. The main character then approaches her mother and addresses her, after which he asks if she is going somewhere, to which the woman replies yes and tells the girl to stay there and not make noise. The young lady then agrees, but then the doctor also enters the room, and when he bows, then the woman passes by him and then leaves. The young lady greets Evan, and the guy also wishes her good morning, after which she claims that her mother left and she thinks she won't be home for a long time. Evan says that there is still a lot of time before the Duke arrives, and the young lady claims that this is probably why her mother left. After which she says that everything is fine and she needs to have fun sometimes. The doctor then looks at the young lady with a little surprise, and she thinks that everything is great because now everything will go like clockwork. A little while later, the doctor already states that he has finished the examination and will go, and the young lady says that they will see each other. Evan sighs as he leaves the room and remembers what just happened. After all, he claimed that the disease had completely receded, and if the girl increased her physical activity a little, she would be able to fully recover in about a month. And he asks if she is taking the nutritional supplements he prescribed. The young lady then, with a smile on her face, asserts that she has never missed a single one and asks if she is a good girl. The guy is now wondering why the girl's room is so big and the little princess looks so lonely in it. And for the first time he realized how hard it was for her there. A little while later, the girl was already going out into the street, and with a smile on her face, she claims that the garden looks like it came from a painting. A couple of days ago, the girl asked Anna for two things. It's a very strong lock and a map to the place where Edwin is being held. The young lady also thinks that she will hang a new lock so that only she can enter. And at least for a short time, he will be able to protect the guy, and then he will start visiting more often. The girl will show how good she can be so that he will not want to put her into eternal sleep, because he will not even think about it. The young lady also thinks that she can try to teach him manners, after which she says that she will do just that and understands that her goal is to make his obsession a little kinder. The girl also goes further and thinks that it is so sad without the main characters. Alice is 7 years old, Edwin is 8, and Mikhail is 5, and only she has been a villain since childhood, so now the girl only laughs. But then she asks, how is this possible since she has been walking for so long and the distance seems to have not changed? And looking at the tower, the young lady thinks why it hasn't become closer. But then she screams in shock that she hasn't even gone half the way, and why do they need such large territories? The girl also asks if it would be dangerous for a 7-year-old child to be so tired and if children shouldn't be more resilient. The girl also thinks why the problem started almost immediately, but she still understands that she should leave bad thoughts because she needs to move on. And by evening, the main character is already exhausted, but still understands that she has achieved her goal because she sees a tower in front of her, after which she opens the door but then only laughs nervously because in this tower, the stairs seem endless, and the girl only swears. A little while later, the young lady is already lying in bed, and the maid rubs her feet and asks if the lady is feeling better. The young lady replies that it hurts a little, but it's nice, and the brunette claims that it looks like the lady has overworked herself, and the girl replies that yes, but thanks to Anna she's already better, after which she thanks her. The maid then smiles and asks whether the mistress will go for a walk today and whether she will prepare everything as usual. The blonde replies that yes, she herself understands that 10 days have passed since her first attempt, and then she lay in bed for 2 days because everything hurt. After that, she got halfway through, and now she realizes she has a few tricks up her sleeve. At this time, someone tells the lady that Dr. Evan has come to see her, and the girl says to let him in. After which, the young man enters the room and claims that the lady has lost even more weight. But her health has not deteriorated, and he asks how the young lady is feeling. The girl replies that life is hard, but she will cope somehow, and the doctor then, in shock, states that she is only 7 years old, and the young lady states that others cannot understand her pain, and in her thoughts adds that it is mainly muscular. The doctor at this time only sighs, and the young lady understands that recently his behavior has changed, and even when she was immersed in eternal sleep, he muttered like a wind-up toy that she was not taking care of her health. But now the young man has become kinder and more attentive, and the girl understands that at first she doubted, but now she is sure. After all, it's all a pity. The doctor writes something down at this time and claims that he heard that the girl has been walking around a lot in recent days. So he asks what she usually does, and the girl replies that she just runs into the garden and hides there. Alice claims that she doesn't like the estate, so she speaks with tears in her eyes. That it's because everyone there hates her. Alice is just trying to evoke even more pity for herself. The doctor then screams at the lady that this is not true, but he still does not know how to lie. And the young lady then turns to the guy and claims that he himself knows that she is right. The girl also tells Evan that she feels so heavy in her soul because of loneliness. The girl also does not know what will come of this, but it is worth a try. After which, she turns to the window and claims that she would like to find a friend her own age, and then she would not be so sad. A little while later, the doctor already offers to talk tomorrow and says that he will go, to which the young lady agrees, and says that she enjoyed chatting. Before leaving, the guy also says that he is sure the lady will find friends. And the young lady thanks him, and when the doctor leaves the room, she immediately jumps out of bed. And she goes to the door and watches him leave and thinks if it worked, and also if he figured it out. After which she realizes that the doctor should introduce her to Mikhail to save her from suffering. The young lady also asks if he thought that she was being bullied the next day as well. The girl is preparing for another trip to the tower. The young lady is warming up, after which, with a smile on her face, she says that she can begin searching. Then the young lady decides to brighten up her walk, and when she finds a twig, she asks what will happen if she finds such a thing on the way. After all, this branch becomes hers, and now the main character runs and jumps and claims that this branch is hers, and it's as if she won the lottery. A little while later, the girl is already near the tower, and when she finally sighs, she thinks how far away this tower is. Then the young lady goes inside and touches one of the walls and realizes that there must be a key somewhere there. After which, the girl finally finds it. She takes out the key from there and then opens the lock. And he understands that the main character must be locked there. However, when the girl opens the door, then he immediately smells a terrible smell and closes his nose, after which he goes inside. And there he sees a skinny young man who doesn't even move. Alice looks at him in shock. And then she runs up to the guy asking if he is alive. The girl also understands with tears in her eyes that he is not answering, but she thinks that the guy couldn't have fallen into eternal sleep. At this time, the young man stretches out his hand to her, after which he throws her down on the floor and looks at her furiously. The main character gets a little scared from this. The young man then reaches his hand towards her neck, after which the girl understands that he is going to plunge her into eternal sleep. And she pushes him away in shock, screaming for him to wait, after which the guy just falls. And then the girl addresses him by name, and when she looks at the young man, she understands that he is still alive and has simply passed out. The main character also grabs her hand, on which there is a scar, and understands that this will not work, because she needs to go back. After which the girl leaves the boy and returns to the estate. When she comes there in the evening, then the doctor begins to treat the wound and asks how the lady managed to get hurt. The girl replies that she fell from a tree onto the branches, to which the young man only remains silent and understands that he would have believed her if the scratches had been on her knees. But it looks more like human nail marks, and now he claims that the wounds are not very deep, so let her take the medicine he gave her and sleep in a warm place. And he will also tell Anna the dosage so that the girl will try not to forget what the young lady agrees to, and the guy will then leave the room. Alice then realizes that Duke Esteban had only one child. He was born with black hair. Despite the fact that the Duchess had wheat-colored hair and the Duke had light-colored hair, in this the young man does not resemble his parents. He was immediately stripped of his status as heir and locked in a tower after being falsely accused of having an extramarital affair with the Duchess who died after giving birth, and Karina, who was a former maid, became the Duke's new wife, but she was tormented by an inferiority complex because of her status. Previously, she served the Duchess, therefore she mocked her son, a boy from a great family. For her, the highest pleasure was ivy trading. The guy became like this precisely because of her. That's why now the main character says that they are not people but a damn pile of trash, and she understands that seeing a child in such a state is much worse than reading about it. Then you can no longer turn a blind eye to it. The young lady also claims that she really hopes that she can help him at least a little. The next day, the young man is still sitting in the tower, but then he hears someone's footsteps. It turns out that this is the main character, and when she opens the door, she enters the room with a large backpack. The girl also pulls out a tray and places food on it, after which she also takes out a stick and pushes the food towards the boy, asking if he is hungry. The young lady also claims that there is water bread and some fruit. The young man only remains silent in response to this, and the young lady claims that she has found the softest one, and his stomach should be able to handle it, so he will try at least a little. And she also takes medicine out of her backpack, and also understands that she wanted to treat him but she doesn't think she can handle it. After which she asks if she can come closer, but the boy only remains silent in response. And then the girl takes a step, but at the same moment she notices how the guy is looking at her furiously. With her red eyes, the young lady is frightened and then turns around and claims that she will return tomorrow. The next day, the girl moves the second tray closer, but sees that there is still food left on the first one. On the third day, she does the same, and on the fourth, she sees that the food from the first day has gone bad, after which the young lady takes away this food. On the fifth day, she also brings a tray. And on the sixth day, everything remains unchanged, and the girl sits opposite the guy watching him. Well, he still doesn't touch the food, after which the main character turns to Edwin and asks if he can eat at least a piece. But the young man only remains silent, and the girl insists that they need to figure out how to bring Mikhail faster. The guy then looks at how the young lady sits heavily, thinking about something, and still remains silent. At this time, the Duchess returns to the estate, and next to her sits a maid who is completely beaten. The woman then suddenly screams, which frightens the maid, and the lady with red hair only screams, asking how these pathetic people dared to laugh at her. But she is now a duchess and not a maid. The maid at this time turns to the mistress and asks her to calm down. However, Karina immediately screams for the maid to shut up because how can she calm down in such a situation? The maid then apologizes and claims that she didn't mean to, and then she has an idea, and she suggests that the lady go to the tower because she will definitely feel better there, after which Karina turns to the coachman and says that they are going to the tower. However, a little while later, the Duchess, already angry, returns to the estate. The butler then greets the lady and says that today, however, the woman at that very moment, he hits him in the face, after which the butler, with the same calm but with a wounded face, asks the lady for forgiveness and asks why she did it. However, the woman tells him not to pretend that he doesn't know and screams out who changed the lock on the tower without her permission. The butler then asks her about something, and at that moment the main character is walking up the stairs, and he tells his mother that she did it, after which he asks how her vacation went. The woman then wonders if this is really the work of the young lady, and her main character answers her mother that it is so. Karina understands that the girl calls her not mom, but mother, but still asks why Alice did this. And the girl replies that she just wanted to, which the woman is surprised and asks what she is talking about. The young lady claims that she was so bored and lonely without her mother that she went there and she found herself a toy. The girl also claims that now Edwin will belong to her, and it's better not to argue with her about this, so let mother not even think about touching him. The woman then turns to her daughter and claims that the joke becomes unfunny when it drags on. And she asks if it's been too long since she punished the girl. The main character gets a little scared by this. And then the woman tells the girl to give her the key and stop upsetting her. However, the main character claims that she knows one of her secrets and isn't she afraid that she will tell it in the presence of other servants. After that, they go into the room of the Duchess, and the woman tells the girl to tell what she has come up with this time. Alice claims that she knows about her mother's secret, and she asks if that is really true. However, the young lady then claims that she does not need to be told the secret of Edwin's birth, that this guy is the real son of the Duke and Duchess. The woman then rises from her seat, and he goes to the little girl and asks where she heard such nonsense. The girl claims that she will not answer this question, after which she claims that she wants to take Edwin so that his mother doesn't break him, so she won't give him the key. The little girl also says that if mother continues to ask, even the Duke will find out about the secret. But then she tells the woman how stupid it is because it is not true. And she also asks if the girl really thinks that the Duke will believe her, to which the young lady gets a little scared. After which the woman lets Alice go and says, okay. After which she claims that she didn't expect anything else from her daughter. After which she claims that she understands that Alice is very lonely, and that is why she does such things. And also, this time she will close her eyes, but let the girl not think that her patience is endless. After which the woman leaves the room. The young lady then falls to the floor and realizes that the guy's hair color actually changed because of Karina's tricks. After all, if you give a woman one plant during pregnancy, the hair of the newborn child will darken. And this is tea from the distant country of Roubaix. Karina looked after the Duchess while she was pregnant, and she mixed this plant with regular tea, this herb that she bought in a dark alley for a large sum, and the side effects are poor coagulation of the red liquid, and complications with bleeding. Therefore, in essence, because of this, the Duchess fell into eternal sleep during childbirth, and even if she had survived, she would have been expelled from the duchy for treason. Therefore, in the situation with the guy and the Duchess's immersion into eternal sleep, it is Karina who is to blame. And the main character cannot believe that she has become the daughter of such a woman, but for now, there shouldn't be any problems. And the young lady just closes her eyes thinking about Edwin, and also hopes that she will be able to hear his voice tomorrow. Then the young lady begins to dream about how she is sitting at the table, or the girl then asks, where is the Duke or mother, and also is no one coming? The man then apologizes to the lady, and claims that the Duke went to the imperial palace on business, but the lady is busy now. A little while later, one of the servants brings the baby to Edwin and claims that her mother usually devotes almost all her time to this child, and his mother unfortunately has already fallen into eternal sleep. The blonde then squeezes her teddy bear, after which she throws it at the guy and screams who he is and why he is looking at her like that. The girl also screams that it would be better if he disappeared and simply fell into eternal sleep. The next morning, the young lady opens her eyes and sighs. A little while later, she heads into the garden, and when she thinks about that dream, she understands that there is no meaning in it, and why did she remember it only now? After all, Alice had already met a guy when she was happy and the meeting was unpleasant. The girl also understands that she will go crazy so soon, and everything made no sense from the very beginning. At this time, someone else approaches the young lady and then asks what is wrong with her. It turns out that it is a doctor. And seeing him, the girl is silent for a while, and then turns around and claims that it is none of his business. Evan is surprised by this, but still asks if it wouldn't be better to take a walk than just lie on the ground. However, the girl replies that she doesn't want to, and it's too much trouble, so she also suggests that he stop telling her what to do if he's not going to go with her. The guy then states that he can go with her if the lady wants, and the young lady then gets up from the ground, and he looks at the doctor in shock, but he just gets embarrassed and claims that I just love a walk. The young lady immediately jumps on the guy with hugs, and then the girl returns to her room. And she also tells the young man to wait there because she needs to prepare, to which he agrees. The guy stays to wait, but then he hears the maid whispering whether the girl is really going there again, and another woman replies that it seems so. She claims that the girl goes there almost every day, just like her mother, but her friend then asks why the girl takes food with her, and her interlocutor replies that the girl is probably torturing the guy and sitting and eating and not giving it to him. The young man then wonders if they are talking about the lady. A little while later, the main character is already heading with the doctor through the garden. He then asks where they are going, and the girl understands that he might not go with her if she says that she is going to Edwin. after which he only claims that he wants to see his friend, and more accurately wants to become friends with him, but for now this is impossible because of some problems in the past, so she will need his help. The guy then asks how he can help. And the girl replies that he will understand everything when they are there, after which they approach the tower. And when the young lady opens the door, she says that Evan somehow quickly ran out of breath. The guy then says that children her age have much better endurance. But the girl says what a stupid excuse this is, after which the girl starts to climb the stairs, and the young man then turns to his uncle and asks if she is going to climb to the very top. The young lady replies yes and asks what's wrong with that, and the guy then asks why. After which, in shock, she asks if this is not the place where Mr. Edwin is locked up, and he asks if the girl really wants to be friends with him, to which the young lady replies that everything is correct. After which he turns to Evan and he says that it is clear, after which he says that a small child is in such a wretched place, and he also thinks that he didn't know that Mr. Edwin was being kept in such bad conditions. At this time, Alice claims that from now on it is better to talk less, and the guy asks why, and the girl answers that it is so that she has enough strength to reach the very top. After which they finally rise up, and the doctor is already very exhausted. The young lady then says that he will get used to it when he goes up there a few more times, and the young man, breathing heavily, replies that, of course, that is how it is. Then the main character opens the door and greets Edwin, and also claims that the weather is great today. However, when the doctor enters the room, he is shocked and wonders what this smell is. At this time, the girl asks if the guy was scared when they broke into the place last night, and she also tells him not to worry, because now she has a key to this room. At this time, the young man looks menacingly at the guy who is behind the young lady, and the main character claims that Edwin should not worry. After all, this is a doctor and his name is Evan, and the girl also claims that she brought him to examine the wounds, and this guy is a good person, so he cannot be afraid. Then the girl turns to Evan, but seeing that he feels very bad because of the smell, and he excitedly asks what's wrong with him, and also wonders what happened and whether he's really having a panic attack. But this guy is only 17 years old, and the girl wonders if this scene is too shocking. After which the young man completely faints, and the main character turns to him in shock. After which she says that he can't pass out and how she's going to get him down. The girl also hits him in the face and screams at him to pull himself together and asks if she really should leave him there. Alice understands that one is worse than the other, after which she just picks up the nose and places it next to Edwin, and also apologizes and claims that today she brought a sandwich and fruit, so he needs to gather strength so that his wounds heal faster, and let him eat at least a little. Well, then the main character is very surprised and realizes that she forgot that she needs to move a stick under her nose, after which the girl gets a little scared and moves back, but when she looks at the guy, then she sees that he doesn't treat her with hostility and wonders if he's really not attacking. The girl also smiles and realizes that she succeeded after all, after which she takes the doctor on her shoulders, and he says that tomorrow he will also come, so let the young man eat, and then the girl leaves, and the guy just looks at the food on the tray. The main character at this time remembers how she once picked up a kitten on the street that was supposed to fall into eternal sleep. He was not only small and weak but also scared, and after a while, for the first time, he touched her hand himself, and the happiness that the main character experienced then was 10 times less. Now, even though she feels disgusting, she continues to smile, and she realizes that she has finally managed to enter her comfort zone. Well, then the girl just writhes in pain and suffers from muscle pain because of having to carry the doctor. The young man at this time only apologizes to the lady, and the girl says that everything is fine and she will somehow survive, after which she asks if Evan is okay too, which he answers yes, and asks if they often went there. Alice answers that almost every day, after which she also apologizes for not warning him and claims that the guy's condition looked serious, so she wanted Evan to examine him. The young man then claims that he heard the lady change the lock and asks if it was for the sake of the young gentleman. The young lady replies that yes, the doctor then understands that it is no longer possible to ignore how the lady has changed, and he does not know the reason, but it is as if she has become a different person. At this time, Alice turns to him and asks if the guy can go there with her again, Evan replies that he can in order to better understand the guy's condition, but he won't be able to provide full assistance. The blonde then asks why this is, and the guy replies that it is because there is no one to look after his brother, and the person he relied on is leaving, so he will have to deal with it himself until he finds a new one. Alice then says that he won't find one. And the doctor is a little surprised and also asks what she is talking about, and the girl says that nothing and understands that the guy himself mentioned Mikhail for the first time. Now the girl asks how old the guy is, and Evan replies that his brother is 6 years old, and he is a year younger than the young lady. The main character then looks at the doctor with sparkling eyes, and he claims that in any case, she will have to take care of Edwin herself, but he will prepare medicine that will help with his wounds. A little while later, the girl comes to the young man and greets him. The girl also looks at the room and realizes that it seems there were no problems. But when he looks at the tray, he wonders if the guy really ate everything. But this is the first time this has happened. After which, the girl also takes other dishes out of the bag and hands them to the guy. After which she claims that the trial today turned out to be very tasty, and she hopes that he will like it. The young man then immediately puts his hand on the soup and begins to eat it with his hands. The main character looking at this is a little surprised. She thinks it's good that everything cooled down while she was carrying it, and it looks like in the future I'll have to teach him how to eat properly, after which she sits next to the guy and turns to him and asks if he hates her more. However, the guy does not answer that he hates her, to be left alone, and the girl's eyes are filled with tears. When the young man finishes eating, the girl turns to him and says that she wants to start treating his wounds, and also will not harm him. The girl also looks at the guy's legs and arms in the red liquid and understands that his condition is very bad, and she would really like to break the chains. However, they are created by magic, and even Karina can't do anything, so Mikhail is needed, whose touch will awaken the magical power. Now the main character touches the guy's leg and realizes that he doesn't seem to mind that she's touching him. Then the girl wets a rag and starts wiping the boy's face. Well, then she thinks why they haven't been wiping for a long time. And grabbing him tighter, she begins to lose more and more. A little while later, she was already completely out of breath. But when she looks at the pure young man, she only smiles and strokes his head, after which he says that he is very handsome. The young man is a little surprised, but then it turns around and the main characters think, what is it, and also, did he really not like it? The girl also thinks what to do now because there are still medicines and she needs to apply ointment, after which the young lady turns to Edwin and asks if he can look at her. She also tells the guy to take these pills because they will dull the pain, and she puts them on a plate, after which she tells the guy not to forget. The young lady also smears the ointment on her hand and claims that this is also a medicine, but you don't have to drink it, but smear it and carefully apply it to all the wounds. The girl also says that she will go if he is uncomfortable with her, so let the young man try to do everything as she showed, and she will bring him delicious food every day to make him happy. The young man is a little embarrassed after this and watches the young lady leave, after which he remains alone in the room again. The next day, he is still sitting in this room chained up. Well, then suddenly he starts hearing someone's footsteps, and then the door opens, and also sees the main character there, who greets the guy and claims that there is not a cloud on the street today. The young man then rejoices at her arrival, and Alice at this time takes out delicious food and a warm blanket. The young lady also understands that in front of her is the handsome and main character, after which she takes one of the books and turns to Edwin and asks if he knows what it is. The guy then shakes his head as if to show that he doesn't know, and the girl claims that it's a book. The girl also understands that the boys locked him there at a very young age, and therefore he knows nothing about the world around him. So she will start with fairy tales, and calm as well as happy stories can help heal his emotional wounds and give a piece of lost childhood. Then the girl reads the book, and in one of the dots it is written that then the stepmother shouted to Cinderella that she and the prince are actually brother and sister. Well, then the young lady understands. What did she just read? And then she just falls silent and closes the book. And looking at the cover again, he thinks, what is it? But then he sees that it is not a real cover, and when he tears off the wrapper from the book, he sees that there is not a very good picture. The young lady then realizes that she took this book from Alice's library, and she wonders why the girl read it. After which she also looks at other books and thinks that the plan is to return Edvan to a normal childhood. It was a complete failure, but now the girl thinks that there is no need to be upset because she can handle it herself. After which the young lady throws the book away and tells the guy to forget about it because it's just a strange book. Then the girl begins to think about the most suitable story that will help her survive. And then he begins his story about how a girl and a boy decided to climb a high mountain in the middle of the night. But the young lady also thinks why they climbed there at all, and still comes up with the idea that they wanted to pick wild berries at the top. And they were best friends, but suddenly a terrible tiger appeared in front of them. He claimed to be so hungry and said that he would have to eat one of them and also asked who would be his snack. The girl then, with tears in her eyes, told him to eat her instead. However, the young man then shouted that it was not necessary. After all, the young lady must live, and he will not be able to survive the plunge into the ordinary sleep of his best friend. And also, cannot just stand and watch. In the end, the tiger was so impressed by the strength and friendship that he did not find anyone. Everyone lived happily ever after. Now the young lady asks what the guy thinks and whether it is interesting. Well, the young man is only interested in what a tiger is, and the girl understands that he stopped understanding from the very beginning, after which she claims that it is a big and scary beast, and he also has fur claws and eyes. The young man then asks if he has a whip, and the girl understands that something is scary. Edwin screams loudly and is scary, so the girl wonders if he really thought about Karina. At this time, the young man only asks what friends are, and the girl thinks that he is also interested in this, after which she claims that this relationship is like hers and Edvan's. After all, they always share food with each other and support each other when they are bored or lonely. Well, the guy then says that he didn't do anything for her, and how can they be friends? And the main character replies that of course they are already friends, and that is the most important thing for them. This does not harm each other, so she suggests better protection and help and asks how he should. The guy then asks if they should protect each other, and the young lady replies that they definitely should, and he understood everything correctly. And the young man then claims that he will put the tiger into eternal sleep with his own hands. The girl is then surprised by him and claims that there is no need to go so far and that he should simply not put her into eternal sleep. Alice understands that it seems she went too far, but in principle it will do. The guy just smiles after that, and he claims that he will protect Alice. At this time, the Duke is in the capital. He looks at some paper, and at that moment a servant turns to him and claims that a letter has arrived from the main estate. The man then looks at what is written there with a little surprise and wonders if Alice really goes to the tower. The servant replies that yes and asks what the master will order to do, but he replies that nothing and that he should simply ignore it. After all, he will be returning soon anyway. The main character is in the garden at this time and realizes that she hasn't been to such a tea party for a long time. But the weather is nice and the tea is delicious. The only problem is that now the girl in front of her is sitting. Her mother claims that they haven't sat like this for a long time and asks if the girl agrees with her. The young lady replies that, of course, and she really likes it, and also understands that it has been so quiet lately, so why did she come? At this time, the woman asks how the girl is doing and whether she has recovered yet, and the young lady replies that she has, and Evan even praised her yesterday, and also said that she has become stronger than before her illness. Karina replies that the girl used to get sick so often, and she doesn't even know who gave her this. The young lady then apologizes for causing her mother so much worry. Well, the woman suddenly addresses her by name and claims that last time she let things go because she was away from home for a long time and the girl became lonely. But today she wants to talk calmly and claims that she was very upset by the threats of the young lady, but such words could even cost her mother her life. Alice then asks if she is talking about threats and claims that she does not remember anything like that. Woman of the Year says that when she didn't give the girl what she wanted, she decided to put her in an awkward position and be stubborn, which is quite threatening, and asks if the young lady thinks so. The main character then asks if she is talking about Edwin being a son. However, the woman immediately interrupts her and claims that if anyone hears this nonsense, then everything they are enjoying now, she might disappear and the girl doesn't want to wander the streets and beg for alms. The young lady then asks why and claims that she is simply telling the truth. After all, they are very similar to the Duke. At first, it was clear only by the color of their eyes. But then she washed him and saw that they were like two peas in a pod, so she had no doubt that he was the Duke's only son. The woman then smiled and said, "What an interesting proposal that was." And she claims that she also noticed this when she first saw the boy. Red eyes are a fairly common feature, and if you try, you can find many people similar to the Duke. The young lady then asks if she was mistaken, and her mother says that of course she was, so let the girl not spread such dangerous nonsense anymore. After all, she hates stupid children, and Alice doesn't want her to hate her. The young lady then apologizes and states that it will not happen again, after which the woman extends her hand, and he tells the girl to then give him the key to the tower, and she asks her about this because they will see each other more often. However, the little girl screams that it is not fun for her to play with Edwin, but then silence hangs between them, and the woman scratching her nails on the table claims that she will simply take them from the young lady for safekeeping and that she could lose these keys. But the main character replies that there is no need because they are in a secret place. And the woman asks if she is talking about a secret place, and the little girl replies that yes and only she knows about this place. A little while later, the main character is already heading back to her room and realizes that she gets tired every time she sees this woman. But it's good that Elisa is only 7 years old, because it seems that Karina is not going to use complex tricks yet, and she is her biological daughter. That's why the little girl thinks it's better not to provoke her again. Well, when the girl comes into the room, what does she notice? After which she opens the wardrobe with dresses and also looks into the nightstand, but then realizes that's what she thought, and someone had already dug everything up, after which the girl goes out into the corridor and turns to Anna. He also asks if she went anywhere, to which the maid is a little surprised, after which she claims that she was gone for a short time. And another maid said that they had prepared a new dessert, so she wanted to try it. After which the girl immediately bows her head and asks the lady for forgiveness, but the main characters do not say that, oh well, everything is fine and it was delicious. Then the young lady returns to the room and realizes that someone turned it over while she was gone and even distracted her. But unfortunately for them, the key was not there, and now the young lady takes the key from Evan and also thanks him. The guy then claims that he just needed to hold him, and the young lady replies that this is true. She understands that she was able to protect the guy, but now she needs to arrange a meeting with Mikhail. The girl also understands that she has 10 days left before the Duke's return, and there is no backup plan yet. Now the doctor turns to the young lady and asks if she wants to go to the tower. The girl replies yes and asks what it is. And the young man claims that one patient canceled their meeting, so he has some free time, and he would like to go with her if it is possible, because judging by the symptoms, the young gentleman has a serious wound. A little while later, the young lady is already with the guy and showing him a picture with a title asks what it is. And when the guy answers correctly, the girl tells him to give her hand, and the young man does so. After which the main character hugs him and screams how smart he is, after which she turns to the doctor. And he asks what he thinks, and the guy is already feeling better, and Evan claims that he is remembering new words, and that is at least something, after which the doctor reaches out to the guy in his hand, but he tells him not to touch him. The young man also says with a furious look that otherwise he will plunge the guy into eternal sleep. The doctor then gets scared and asks the lady why the guy is so rude to him, and answers the main character that everything is fine. And now they are friends, and also agreed that they will not put into eternal sleep those who one of them likes. So now she turns to Edwin and says that she likes Evan, so she asks him not to put him into eternal sleep. After all, this guy is a good person and he treated her when she was sick. Blina then asks if Alice was sick, and the girl answers that sometimes there were moments when she felt bad. The young man then asks if she fell into eternal sleep, and the girl replies that no, and Evan did not allow this to happen, after which she asks if this is true. And the doctor replies that yes, and he did everything possible to make sure the lady was okay. He also understands that who would have thought that they were getting so close, and it's even nice to watch. The next day, the doctor turns to the young lady and states that because of yesterday, he came to the conclusion that the lady needs to learn normal relationships herself. For example, playing with peers. The girl then says, okay, but still asks what it means. And the guy then tells Il to come out and say hello, then the young lady thinks who it is. But when the young man comes out from around the corner, the main character realizes that it is Michael Elgar. And that same second main character, the doctor at this time claims that this is his brother Mikhail, after which she tells the guy to say hello to Lady Alice, but she only says what a cutie the guy is. However, the young man immediately screams that he hates the girl and that she is ugly. The doctor is then a little surprised and turns to ill. But the main character then thinks how cute it is, because the guy even has the same character as in the original, after which she asks if she should start first, and claims that she would like to be friends with Mikhail. However, the young man only grabs his brother and tells her to move away because he hates her. However, then Prav immediately turns sternly to Mikhail and suggests that he not say such bad things to the lady, otherwise everyone will think that he is an ill-mannered child. So he also tells Il to apologize. The young lady then thinks about what the doctor calls his brother and realizes that she now remembers that it is his nickname. Edwin also called him that, and when one day Mikhail tried to escape from the brunette's grip, he also screamed for him to let him go. Then Edwin simply put his hand on his cheek and insisted that now no one could take Illa away from him. And also, he belongs to him completely down to the last hair. Now the young lady only smiles. And the young man at this time claims that Evan always came home late because of this girl, and he hates being alone. The doctor then tries to say something to the guy, but the main character waves her hand and claims that everything is fine and he can hate her. After which she greets Mikhail again and claims that her name is Alice and that she is often sick, so his brother has to treat her. After which the young lady also apologizes, and the boy then says, okay. The girl then asks if he still hates her, and Mikhail just nods. And then Alice asks what to do because she loves Mikhail so much. The young man only gets embarrassed after that and turns away, and the doctor smiles and apologizes to the lady and also claims that Il is a bit of a strange child, but not to that extent, and he will educate the boy so that he will not buy again. However, the young lady claims that everything is fine and he does not have to scold the boy too much. And the doctor then claims that if the girl says so, then can he leave the guy there because he has many patients today? The young man then asks in shock what he is talking about. He is a brother, and the main character replies that the guy can stay. Evan thanks the girl and then says goodbye to his brother and claims that he will be back soon, and also tells Ilu that they will have a delicious dinner together later. The young man still cannot accept that his brother left him like that with this girl, after which he sits on the edge of the blanket and resentfully runs a stick along the ground. But when he sees that the girl is looking at him, he screams, "Why is she looking at him like that?" The young lady then turns to the book and says that it's okay and she won't look at him. However, the boy only gets angrier after this, and a little while later he falls asleep. The main character then claims that children fall asleep so easily and understands that she should take advantage of the moment to take a closer look at the guys. The girl also says how cute he is. And a little while later, the young man opens his eyes, and when he gets up, he asks where his brother is. Well, at that very moment, the main character puts a wreath on his head and claims that she made it herself. The young lady also looks at the boy and realizes that he now looks just like a fairy. After which, she also turns to Evan and hands him the wreath. The doctor asks if it is really for him, and the girl replies that it is and let him wear it. After which, the guy thanks the lady and puts it on while the main character watches this. She almost cries and thinks what happiness this is. Then she looks at the other flowers and thinks that she will make another wreath. A little while later, the young man with black hair is already holding this wreath and saying what a pleasant smell it has. Alice replies that yes, and the flowers in the garden are very beautiful. The girl also understands that the young man has not been outside for so long, but now she has met Mikhail, so everything should be fine. The young lady also says that she will help with the wreath because the guy dressed it strangely. However, the young man immediately puts it on the main character and claims that it is Alice. He comes closer, after which the young lady smiles and claims that then she will be in it for now. The girl also claims that today she met Mikhail and he is Evan's younger brother and he is only 5 years old. The young lady then asks if this name is good, and the brunette at this time asks if Alice likes this guy. The girl answers that he is cute and handsome, and also adds in her thoughts that he is like a little angel who came down from heaven because he has plump pink cheeks, hair the color of silver in the moonlight, and even the color of his eyes is beautiful, like shiny jade. The brunette asks her if she likes beautiful things, and the young lady is just wondering if someone could possibly dislike them, and the young man then wonders what he looks like. Alice claims that she can bring a mirror tomorrow if he wants to, which the guy agrees, and the young lady asks if he is interested in what he looks like. The young man replies that a little, and asks if he is handsome too, and the main character then screams that of course he is, after which she sees how the young man is worried about his handcuffs and claims that soon it will no longer hurt him, and he will become even more beautiful than now, and for now she strokes his head and claims that she will bring him a mirror, so that he would be convinced. But the next day the main character is already in bed with a cold, and she also understands that it seems that she has had weak lungs since birth, and this is so annoying. At this time, the doctor claims that she has a high temperature and that usually the lady gets sick once a season. But this time she spent too much time in the towers and in the bad air. Therefore, the disease will not go away quickly. The young lady then thinks that she was going to bring Edwin a mirror today, and the doctor at this time asks if he can take care of Mr. Edwin until she gets better, after which the young lady asks if it will not be difficult for him. Evan replies that yes, but she still needs to get well faster, or the girl claims that she will listen to Evan in order to be healthy. She also asks if the guy found a nanny for Mikhail, and the doctor recalls his brother's difficult character. He claims that it's only for half a day, and the young lady understands that everything is just like in the original. Then she tells the guy to bring his brother there if necessary. The doctor then asked if it was okay to give the girl away because she was sick and it would be too much trouble. However, the young lady replies that no, because she loves Mikhail and claims that she needs bed rest, but she is bored and there are a lot of toys there, and she thinks that cooking food for one more person won't be a problem. The doctor then thinks for a bit, but then states that if that's the case, then he has no choice because Mikhail likes her too. The next day, the boy is already sitting next to the young lady and claims that he does not like ugly people. The main character thinks it's cute but still wonders if he really likes her that much. After which the young lady only sighs and claims that she will thus plunge into eternal sleep. The young man then asks if his sister will really fall into eternal sleep, and the girl with a smile on her face replies that no, and that it is so figurative. However, then the girl sees that the guy is crying and is surprised, after which she thinks why he suddenly started crying. At this time, Mikhail claims that his mother said exactly the same thing, and then the cough became stronger, and eventually she fell into eternal sleep. At this time, the blonde with a smile on her face claims that she will soon feel better, so he shouldn't worry because it's Evan. He will definitely help her, and Mikhail is nearby now. The young man is then a little surprised and asks if it is true, and the main character answers that, of course. The young man then resolutely asserts that he will help her to recover, after which he tortures the rag, and threw it on the young lady, asks if she is better. The main character looks at how the young man almost glows. She claims that she is very pleased because she directly feels that she is being cured. After which the guy also takes a spoon with porridge and blows on it. The girl then asks why he does this, and the young man asks if she really doesn't want to eat, after which the main character immediately screams that she wants to and is just hungry. And the young man at the same moment shoves porridge into her mouth, but for some reason it touches the girl's tongue, which makes it painful. And the guy at this time claims that they did the same to him once, and the patients were just like little children, after which he repeats this action once again by blowing on the porridge and shoving it into the young lady's mouth. And the main character then turns to Mikhail and says that she loves him very much, after which he faints. The young man then immediately throws down the porridge and asks what happened to it. The maid at this time goes to the young lady with pills. Well, when he hears someone scream, he gets a little scared, after which he immediately opens the door to his mistress's room and sees that there is an overturned bowl of water and a broken plate of porridge. And the young man with tears in his eyes asks the girl not to fall into eternal sleep. Then another maid also comes into the room, watches all this with a little surprise, and then goes as if to the mistress. She claims that it turned out that this guy is Evan's younger brother, Michael Elgar, and he recently began visiting the young lady. The woman then wonders if Alice and Evan are really that close, after which she asks how long the Elgar family has been helping the Duke's family. And the maid claims that as far as she knows, this has been going on since the time of the first Duke, and she heard that their skills and knowledge of plants are at such a level that even the imperial palace does not want to stay away. The woman then talks about plants and realizes that suddenly it wasn't Alice who understood everything. And Evan, who told her and the woman, just bites her nails, after which she tells the maid to bring Anna. At this time the brunette is sitting in the tower, and then he sees a doctor approaching him. Evan asks to be allowed to examine the boy's wounds, but he only claims that he is not in the mood. Evan then takes his hand and claims that he wants to help, after which he looks at the food that is near the guy and realizes that he has hardly eaten anything. He also unwraps the boy's wounds and says that he needs to look at them, and also claims that the wounds have not yet been closed. Edwin then remembers the words that when he is completely cured, he will become much more beautiful, and now asks when these wounds will heal. The doctor states that he is not sure, and it may take more than a month. He also understands that after Lady Alice explained everything, then he realized that the guy's symptoms were not quite normal. The medications he gave had almost no effect. And although Madame stopped coming when the lady changed the lock, but new wounds appeared, and this is not connected with physical beatings but with a problem that lies inside, as if the guy's very bones were cursed. But he can't even imagine how this could happen to the young master. And if he were a little stronger, he could help him. The young man at this time turns to the doctor and asks when Alice will come. Evan then looks at the guy a little surprised and then claims that she has almost recovered but will not be able to come so often anymore. After all, it is hard for her to breathe in this place. The main character is sleeping at this time, and there is no food for a slightly strange dream where she lies in the middle of a puddle of red liquid. The girl also thinks how much it hurts her, and when she turns around and sees that all the servants and even her mother are no longer tall, who thinks what happened there. At this time there also comes Edwin, and the main character asks why she is in such a place, but the guy replies that the reason is simple. At the same moment, Alice jumps out of bed. Mikhail, who is next to her, asks what is going on, because she scared him. After which the young man also asks if she is okay, and the girl replies that yes, and she had a nightmare. Alice understands that this scene was different from the original, and this is strange, so the girl thinks why she could have dreamed this. Mikhail also tells Alice to drink some water and go back to bed, and the girl thinks that Edwin is not as scary as before. And she thinks that it was just a stupid dream, and she misses him, and she also wonders if Evan will let her go to see the guy. At this time, Mikhail turns to the girl and tells her to go to bed quickly, because suddenly she will get worse again, but the girl claims that she has already recovered. The young man claims that she is weaker than an ant, and that is why she starts coughing because of the bad air, and the main character claims that he also gets sick sometimes. Well, Mikhail replies that this has never happened and she is just weak. Alice then remembers that he does not get sick because of his strength, and the young man at this time puts her to bed, and he tells her to go to bed quickly if she doesn't want to get sick, to which the young lady agrees, and claims that she will spend her whole life in bed. The young man then wonders what caused the nightmare, and whether it was really something terrible. And the young lady claims that she probably just wants to see one person. Mikhail then asks who, and the girl replies that she herself understands that this guy's betrothed is his friend. However, Mikhail is now shocked and asks if she really has friends. The girl is silent after that, and the guy claims that he doesn't. The main character then remembers that it was the same in the novel, but then she points out that they are friends, and also asks if she was the only one who thought so, after which the young man gets a little embarrassed and cries out that they are friends, because he decided this even before her, or she is probably bored, so he will read. And the main character then asks if it's true and says that it sounds funny, after which the young man reads a book about a mermaid. He reads that she thought the prince was stupid because he couldn't talk, and while he was sleeping she had to take the secret flag. The main character then thinks what it is and wonders where the guy got this book. The young man then asks if this isn't her book, and the girl understands that she threw them away, after which she claims that it is a forbidden book, and children who read bad books are also bad. However, the guy claims that everything is fine and he is almost finished, and yesterday the girl said that he is good. At this time, someone turns to the lady and claims that she has brought desserts. The main character is then told that it is good and that she should come in, and also thinks that the maid is just in time. A little while later, the girl is already on the street and then asks where Anna is. But the maid replies that she came on personal matters, and Mikhail at this time is looking at all these desserts. And the main character also thinks how beautiful they are, after which she asks if Il wants a piece. The young man then asks if she will, and the girl replies that no, and she is not hungry. After which the young man says that he will help to eat and not to waste the good, and when the young man was this dessert. He thanks her and claims that it is very tasty, and the main character thinks how cute he is, and the guy got closer to her, and for desserts, that is why he is so simple. But at that very moment, the main character notices how red liquid starts coming out of the young man's mouth and asks what happened. But the young man then begins to fall and loses consciousness. The main character immediately runs up to him. And then with tears in his eyes, he asks what to do and whether he needs to call a doctor quickly. At this time, the girl also hears Ivan calling the lady and his brother, after which he asks where they went. Well then, he hears the main character calling him and then screaming for him to quickly go there because Mikhail is unconscious, after which the doctor examines his brother and somewhat surprised states that it is poison. The young lady then asks in shock if he was poisoned, and the man replies that the smell is similar to mint. And the symptoms of poisoning are like those of the plant Silesian overdose can damage the mind. The main character is now in shock and asks if Mikhail is really here now. However, the doctor interrupts her and says no, and he has high poison resistance for some reason, so he'll be fine. The main character then realizes that it's all because of the cake, and that this piece was meant for her. So now the young lady claims that it's all her fault because the guy ate her piece of cake. But the doctor then asks in shock if she was the target. The girl then apologizes. However, Evan strokes her head and tells the girl not to worry because it is not her fault. The young lady then tries to say something, but the guy claims that it was impossible to predict. And even more so, if Lady Alice had eaten it, she could have lost her mind for the rest of her life. Now the doctor says that Mikhail will be fine, and they are lucky that everything ended with minimal damage. So to prevent this from happening again, he informs Madame. However, the main character screams at him not to do it. The doctor then asks why, and the girl replies that she already guesses that he also tried to poison her. And let him not tell her mother anything. Evan is a little surprised after that. And he asks if everything is really like this, but then turns to the lady and says that maybe she is wrong. The man also claims that he offers her to escape from the estate with him because it is too dangerous to stay there. But the main character claims that everything is fine and she should, and everything will be fine. After which the girl tramples the cake, and the doctor asks why he regrets doing this, but the young lady says that he needs to leave. And they will say that Mikhail passed out because they had a fight. The doctor then wants to say something. However, the young lady only asks for help, and Evan claims that he does not know what the lady is planning, and the leg tries to come more often and take care of Edwin until it becomes safer. The young lady then thanks Evan, who leaves and tells her to remember to take care of her health. The young lady is then left alone and clenching her fists, realizing that she did not think it would come to this. And this woman is her biological mother, and the girl does not understand whether she thinks that everything will be okay if her daughter does not plunge into eternal sleep with her, but simply loses her mind. At this time, the lady bursts into the room and claims that she is there. The young lady also looks into the room, which is near the exit to the street. And the maid turns to the mistress, but when she sees what happened on the balcony, she is a little surprised. And the main character claims that she played with this boy because he was handsome, but he behaved like a spoiled child and a fight started because he wanted to take her cake. After which the young lady tells the maid not to let this guy into the estate anymore. The maid is then a little surprised, but Alice asks if she should repeat it, after which Anna immediately bows and says that she obeys her mistress. At this time, the main character kicks one of the glasses and tells her to remove this one too because there is no room to even stand on it. After which she also turns to the maid and asks if she wants to say something, but she replies that she doesn't, and she will clean everything up there. The next morning, the main character only sighs and realizes that she was not able to sleep, but she did not even think that she could fall into eternal sleep, not from Edwin. But the girl decides not to get upset and claims that there is nothing to be afraid of and that she just needs to speed up the main plan a little. After all, she will survive, Edwin will be free, and Karina will receive the punishment she deserves. But now the main character hears someone entering the room, and her mother at this time claims that she forgot to knock. I also heard that her daughter has been feeling unwell lately, which is why she was in such a hurry. And the main character then thinks that she really came to check why she is unharmed, and the young lady now thanks her mother for worrying about her and also claims that everything is fine now. However, the woman at this time only approaches her and claims that the girl has become so thin and she needs to take care of her more. Then she says that about Mikhail. She heard that the boy began to come and play with her, and the woman also asks if he was here today too. But if she liked the boy so much, then she should have taken care of him too. And the main character now clenches her fists but claims that Mikhail will not come again. And although he looks and speaks beautifully, he is too impudent, and she scolded him and drove him away. The woman then says that now it is clear what that noise was recently, and the girl agrees and claims that the boy wanted to take her away from the cake. That's why she hit him, but he's so weak that he even passed out, and it's very annoying. The woman then says that it is understood, and the young lady asks if she wants to ask anything else. Well, Karina turns to Alice and asks if she wants to say something herself. The young lady then pretends that she doesn't understand what this woman is talking about and says that she doesn't know, after which she asks if her mother wants her to say how beautiful she is. After which the girl with a smile on her face states that she is so glad that her mother visited her and also thanks her for her care. And the woman then says that, of course she is her daughter and let the girl not disappoint her anymore. The young lady then agrees. And Karina claims that then she will go. The main character then sighs and says how ridiculous it is. She then looks into her jewelry drawer and takes out a pair. The girl also takes out one of the rings and understands that this will go in, after which she tells Anna to go into the room. The girl then agrees and comes in, and the main character asks if her brother's funeral went well. Anna replies that it did, and thanks the lady for her help. And the young lady then says that this is excellent, after which she hands the girl a bag and some kind of letter telling her to take it. The maid does so, but asks what it is, and the main character claims that it is a letter with recommendations and jewelry that can be easily sold without leaving a trace. And if she wants, she can leave right now. When the maid asks the mistress why so suddenly she didn't even think about leaving. And the main character replies that it's because she can't be sure of the people who work there. The girl then turns to the lady a little excitedly, and the young lady states that she can do as she wants, and the conversation is over. The main character also claims that she is going outside, so let the maid prepare everything that she agrees to. The blonde at this time stretches out and claims that sitting at home all the time is too boring, and she is going to go to the festival. The maid then claims that she will ask the knight to accompany the lady, but the young lady says that she will go alone and there is no need. Anna claims that it is dangerous, but Alice says that her dessert was poisoned and the maid should understand. That her mother will no longer disdain her favorite methods and that Anna is in constant danger. That's why the girl says that if the maid wants to fix this, then let her help her get out. At this time, she claims that the lady cannot go alone and asks to be allowed to accompany her. The main character then smiles and thanks Anna, and much time later they find themselves at the festival. She claims that it is the last festival before winter begins, that is why it is so crowded. Alice understands that this was the first time since she got here that she had gone so far from home, and she would have to come again when she would not think only about survival. A little while later, the maid turns to the mistress and claims that they have gone far and it could be dangerous there, so she asks who the mistress wants to meet. When the young lady turns the corner and finally sees the blue bird on the black sleeve, they realize that she has finally found this man. And this witch who sold Karina the rube grass. The woman at this time says what a cute little guest came to her and asks how she can help. And the main character then turns to Anna, and he asks if she can look around for 10 minutes because they could have sent surveillance from the estate, or the knights may be looking for them. The maid then agrees and then leaves, and the main character takes off her hood and says that there are a lot of interesting things there. The woman replies that yes, and she has rare mollusks and pearls so the girl can look around if she wants. At this point, Alice realizes that this is a seemingly harmless girl. In fact, she is a witch, and she sells opium and poisonous drugs. At this time, the main character is asked if she has any tea leaves. After all, her mother loves tea very much. The witch then says how caring this girl is, after which she hands over a box of tea and says that the baby can choose any Alice, then asks if there is anything with the scent of roses. Their woman answers that no, because she does not sell flower teas. The girl then says how strange it is because her mother said that she bought it there, and it didn't look like a rose, but the smell was exactly the same, and she also said that she needs more of this tea. The woman then asks if the little girl came on an errand, and she answers that she definitely did. And then the witch asks what her mother's name is, and the main character then thinks a little, and the witch tells the girl not to be afraid because it seems to her that she and the young lady's mother are old friends. The main character understands that the witch Stella does not do business with those who do not want to reveal their identity, and this is a way to protect herself because she sells very dangerous goods, and almost all of her customers are high-ranking officials. And even the emperor. The young lady then says that maybe they really are friends, after which she claims that she will whisper it in her ear, and the girl whispers the name, after which they ask if it is beautiful. The woman then answers that it is. But she likes the baby's name better. Alice then thinks what she's talking about because she didn't say her name. After which, the witch gives her a bag with a case, and the main character realizes that it smells like a rose, after which she asks if she can have a glass of water. The woman replies that, of course, after which she puts down the glass, but when the young lady looks at it, she picks it up and sees that it is empty. And the woman at this time uses magic and fills it with water, which surprises the young lady. And the woman then just laughs and then asks if this is the first time the girl has seen magic, and the main character then dips the tea leaves into the water, and when it turns red, she realizes that it is definitely rube, after which she holds out the ring and asks if this will be enough, to which the witch replies that of course, and tells the girl to give it to her. However, when the young lady holds out the ring, the witch grabs her hand, and when the little girl breaks free, he already sees the silhouette of a butterfly on his hand and asks what it is and what the witch did. However, she only smiles and claims that it is a small gift, after which the young lady screams for her to erase it. And the witch just wishes Alice good luck, after which the main character is teleported. And the young lady then begins to rub this mark and realizes that it just won't come off. At this time, Anna approaches the lady, and the girl understands that it is time to return. The main character also thinks that she will put them in a letter and send it 2 days later. The Duke sits in his office, and when someone knocks, the man tells that person to come in, after which a guy comes in and claims that the Duke received a strange letter. The man then asks if it is strange, and his interlocutor replies that yes, and it looks more like some kind of joke, so he wanted to throw it away, but it would be better for him to look at it first. As the Duke can see, the sender used the former Duchess's name, and it was sent by express mail. Therefore, in order to find out the real identity, it will take a lot of time, and there may be something dangerous inside. But at that very moment, the Duke tears the envelope open, after which tea leaves fall out. The man then reads this letter, and when he finishes, he gets up from his seat and tells Kaiden to check these tea leaves. And the crew prepared because he is returning to the estate. The main character at this time walks around the room and understands that the letter should have arrived yesterday, and that means the Duke will be there soon. The girl also understands that he definitely should have received it, and she paid the postman more so that there would be no problems, but her money was slipping through her fingers. But now the main character turns around and understands that after the Duke's arrival, all of Karina's tricks will come to light, and the girl also wonders if she will get it too. But she still doesn't think that the 7-year-old girl will be severely punished and will just have to run away from there when the time comes. The girl also understands that the dice have been thrown and wonders whether the snake will have time to bite her or whether the hound will deal with her faster. Now the young lady also lies down on the sofa and realizes that she misses Edwin, Michael, and Evan. But at this time someone knocks on her room and the main character asks who it is. However, when she hears this voice, she realizes that it is Evan, after which she runs to him and claims that they haven't seen each other for a long time. The guy then replies that only half a month has passed, after which he claims that the girl has again lost her bearings, and the young lady replies that she is fine, after which he asks how Mikhail is and if he is feeling better. The man tells the girl not to worry because he has already recovered and is running around as usual. And I would also like to see her, the main character, then says that, thank God, but then asks how Edwin is. The doctor replies that he is also fine, and soon there will be good news. The young lady asks what he is talking about. The guy says that for now it is possible to forget about it, and asks if the girl is okay. And the young lady tells him not to worry because everything will be fine soon, but for now he will have to take it easy. However, when the young lady looks up, she sees that the doctor has leaned towards her and is looking at her menacingly. The main character asks what happened and claims that he scared her. And the man claims that he feels something strange next to her and that this has never happened before. He then reaches out to the young lady's wrist, but she only turns around, and she screams for the guy to stop ruining her mood because looking a lady straight in the face is very rude. The guy then apologizes and suggests calming down, but the girl screams that no way and asks if it's okay to behave like that with ladies. After which she tells him to leave and also claims that they haven't seen each other for so long and he only talks nonsense. Evan asks the lady to wait, but she just tells him to get lost and then escorts him out the door. And she tells him to be careful and take care of Edwina because she has no one else to ask. The doctor tells her to wait, but the young lady then slams the door. And when he lifts his sleeve, he understands that most likely he felt this, and the young lady thinks that this is a bad sign. The girl also understands that there are no strange symptoms and it doesn't seem to hurt. After which she thinks, what is this all about? Evan at this time heads through the forest. And then he sighs and also thinks whether it was right to retreat this time, because even though the girl behaves like an adult, she is only 7 years old. The man then enters the tower and realizes that he has been there many times already. And I tried so hard to open this boy's heart, but he brought delicious food and cleaned up and also read books to him. But all this did not work. The young man only told the guy to quickly bring Alice. Therefore, the doctor understands that for the first time, he sees a more stubborn child than Lady Alice. But in his conditions, this is understandable, and the doctor is already starting to climb the stairs. However, at the same moment, he hears something approaching from behind, and when he turns around, it is already too late, after which a blow is heard. The young lady is lying on her bed at this time, and then suddenly water from a vase pours out on her. The girl then gets up in shock and asks what it is, but then someone wishes Lady Alice good morning, and also tells her to follow her better now. At this time, Evan opens his eyes. But when he turns around, he sees that Anna is also sitting there, and he looks at the girl in shock. And then he turns around and sees Mrs. Karina and the boy who is now beaten again. He then turns to the gentleman and realizes that he is again all wounded. However, the woman then asks if the doctor calls this boy gentleman, after which he just laughs and shouts that Evan Elgar did a good job. The man then asks what she is talking about, but at that moment someone knocks on the door and claims that she has brought Lady Alice, and the woman tells her to get the girl going. After which the young lady also enters the room, and Karina says that they can go and the girl will stay there. Edwin then looks at Alice in shock. Meanwhile, the woman turns to her daughter and claims that she did a good job. But now Mom will punish this naughty child Alice, then claims that Anna and Evan have nothing to do with it. And the woman asks if this is true, after which she claims that they had a bad influence on her. Anna often had to be scolded because she was clumsy, but the last mistake was too serious, and she did not give Alice the medicine. A little while ago, the woman told Isabel to give Alice's maid an eggplant. The maid then asked what it was, and the woman told Anna to add it to Alice's cake tomorrow. The maid then asked what the mistress was talking about and why, but Karina insisted that it was an order. And she's not going to discuss it. Anna then, with shaking hands, answered the lady that it was fine. Well, and then when I left there, I just poured out what was in that jar. But then another maid was watching her, and when Anna was about to serve her mistress food, then this maid took the food cart away from the girl and claimed that she would serve everything herself because it was the mistress's order. The maid couldn't do anything then and just stood there watching as her colleague took away the food. And Karina now claims that it's good that she ordered someone to look after Anna and asks how one can be so impudent. The girl at this time turns to the lady and claims that she is her benefactress and carried out all her orders and also followed the lady, and she helped pay for her brother's funeral. The young lady then turns to Anna and asks only how she can try to put her own daughter into eternal sleep. However, Karina tells Anna not to talk nonsense, and she didn't intend to put the girl into eternal sleep, but simply to calm the problem child. For life, the maid then thinks that this woman has gone completely crazy, and Karina at this time approaches the doctor, after which she throws him to the floor and tramples him with her foot. And the main character then screams for the woman to stop because Evan did nothing wrong. However, Karina then claims that Alice does not understand anything, and he decided that Edwin is the Duke's biological son, but no one gave him the right to interfere in the affairs of someone else's family, and the main character at this time thinks about what this woman is talking about. And Karina at this time asks if he wanted to find evidence, but he provoked her daughter with his stupidity. Karina at this time screams. Did he think that he had found the key to success, and also did he really want to get a high position from the Duke, after which she drinks the doctor and screams so that he doesn't even think about it. After all, he is a useless swindler that no one needs, after which the woman turns to the maid. And he tells her to give her the jar, to which the maid obeys and gives the jar to the mistress. And Karina then grabs the doctor by the hair and, lifting his head, claims that he will never get out of there. After which she says, let the girl watch carefully because this will be her punishment for daring to go against her mother, because these two will plunge into eternal sleep. However, the main character at the same moment grabs her mother by the hand and screams at her not to do this. And she said that she figured it out herself, but she doesn't believe it and now it's all useless. After which the girl claims that she sent the proof to the Duke and she cannot escape punishment. The woman then grabs the young lady's hand and then sees the silhouette of a butterfly on her wrist. At this time, the young man watches as Alice is beaten, after which he only clenches his fist. And Karina at this time asks if the girl has really met Stella, after which she becomes furious. And she screams how the girl could have gotten there and why some child is constantly bothering her. Alice tells Karina to let her go, but the woman only screams that the girl should also fall into eternal sleep. But at that very moment, Edwin breaks the shackles that have bound him for so long and runs to Karina, after which he attacks her and begins to strangle her. The main character watches this in shock, and so do the doctor and Anna. And Karina's maid then looks in shock at her mistress, who is now being strangled by a boy. The girl then runs out of the room and screams that it is a monster. Edwin then approaches the young lady and only relies on her. The main character asks, "What is it?" and the guy apologizes. And he claims that she was harmed, but the young lady claims that it is not his fault. Edwin at this time claims that it was necessary to break these chains faster, and he wanted to protect her. After which he apologizes, and the young lady asks what's wrong with him and realizes that the guy is breathing strangely. Well, at this time, the young man is just beginning to fall, and the main character turns to him in shock. After which she touches his face and realizes that just as she thought the guy has a fever, Evan at this time turns to the lady and asks if she can untie him. After this, the young lady does just that, and the doctor measures the guy's pulse and also does the rest of the checks. Alice asks what's wrong with him and whether it's something serious, but the doctor claims that things haven't recovered yet. And the young man used too much force, after which the doctor begins to use force. And when the main character sees this light, she is a little surprised, and the man answers that it is a holy power. And during previous visits, the guy's condition did not improve, so he tried to use holy power, and it helped a little. The main character then says that it is true, and understands that the guy's wounds now look better, although some have reached the point of rotting. And now she understands how Evan helped the guy, even though his strength cannot be compared to Mikhail. But the curse gradually developed, and the wounds healed. The man at this time apologizes to the lady and claims that this is a very rare ability that many would want for themselves, so he hid everything, and the girl says that no problem and thanks him for his trust. Anna then turns to the lady and asks what they will do now, and the girl replies that for a start. Well then, she suddenly sees the Duke enter the room and he asks what happened there. The young lady then looks at the Duke in shock, and he then sees Karina lying on the ground. And also the young man is shackled and suffers from a fever and turns to Kaiden, ordering him to lock them all up. A little while later, the main character sneezes and realizes that 2 days have already passed. Duke Esteban looked frightening up close, and she didn't even immediately realize that it was her father. But the young lady wonders if this means that now he knows that Edwin is his biological son. Again, when the boy was little, there could still be some doubts, but now he looks like a miniature Duke. And she wonders how Evan and Anna are doing, and the girl also thinks that she is cold and wants to eat, and also take a bath. The young lady also understands that they will starve her to death. The girl also understands that Karina's crime has been exposed. So what is the point of leaving her daughter alive since she is connected to this woman anyway? The young lady then hears someone approaching the door, and then gets up. And the knight who entered the room tells the girl to follow him, after which the young lady does so. But he asks where they are going and whether they are really going to the Duke's office. However, then the girl notices that everyone is looking at her, and he understands that they are no longer even trying to hide their contempt, because it seems like the rumors have already spread. At this time, the girl comes to the Duke's door, and the knight says that he has brought the girl. The man then says, "Let her come in." And when the young lady does so, she sees her father, after which he bends down and greets the Duke. However, seeing his gaze, the girl gets a little scared and understands that he will definitely put her into eternal sleep if she says something wrong. At this time, the man turns to Alice Gannett and talks about the letter, but then hears the girl sobbing. And he looks at her a little surprised, and the young lady, all in tears, turns to the Duke and asks to give her at least a little food because she is so hungry. Alice understands that she will pretend to be weak and useless in order to survive. Well, the man at this time just says how noisy it is and then asks what it is, pointing to the bag of leaves. The girl replies that these are tea leaves, and he claims that she guessed correctly, after which he tells the butler to bring something sweet because he already has tea. The young lady then thanks the Duke, but thinks that he is trying to find out if she knows anything about the letter, after which she realizes that she needs to be meek and grateful. The young lady also recalls the side effects and wonders if they are really going to pour this on a 7-year-old girl. And the man at this time asks what happened in the tower a few days ago. The girl then claims that Isabel, who is her mother's maid, suddenly took her to her house, and when she arrived, she saw that she was very angry. She said nasty things to Evan and hit her, and then Evan couldn't hold back and attacked her. The man then asks what exactly her mother was talking about, and the young lady claims that everything was so fast and scary that she didn't hear, after which she asks where her mother is and Edwin because he almost strangled her then. However, the man claims that he was told that she wanted the tower to mock the guy. The girl then screams that she did nothing of the sort, and that she was simply lonely, and that she also wanted to be friends with him. The young lady also claims that when the Duke was absent, she was often ill and sometimes she felt better, but there was nothing to do. And this guy was the only kid her age in the area. The Duke then claims, it seems like the girl had a hard time, after which he offers her to drink some tea and calm down. The girl then thanks him and understands that there are no other options and she will have to drink. After all, if he realizes that she sent the letter, everything will get even more confused. And while she doesn't know whether Karina survived, and it would be too dangerous to say anything blindly. After which, the Duke watches as the girl takes this tea and brings it to her mouth. However, at the same moment, he addresses her by her first and last name, and the young lady understands that this is the last name they used before they became part of this house. And the man claims that it would be better for her not to try to deceive him, and the girl claims that she swears that she is telling only the truth. After which, the Duke turns around and says, "Okay, and she can also leave." Alice asks what he is talking about, and the Duke claims that she is free, and if he needs something from her, they will come for her. But the rest of the time she should not catch his eye. If she doesn't want to end up like her mother, then the young lady returns to her room. And then she sneezes but understands that she just got better, so she needs to ask for medicine before it gets worse. After which, the young lady pulls the handle and apologizes, but realizes that the room does not open. And the young lady wonders if this Duke really locks up everyone he meets. The doctor is sitting next to the young man at this time, and he understands that the curse has disappeared, but the wounds have not yet completely healed, and his regeneration is amazing. The same cannot be said about Lady Alice because he cannot stop worrying about her. At this time, the Duke enters the room and the boy greets him. The man then approaches Edwin, and the doctor claims that the young gentleman is still sleeping, and he is seriously undernourished, but in good conditions. If he eats a lot and sleeps, he will quickly recover. The blonde then claims that he heard that the doctor was taking care of him, and that his wounds could not be cured with ordinary medicine, so he says, "I wonder what the guy did." And the doctor at this time thinks whether he said that they can't be cured and realizes that he already knows what caused them. After which he claims that he made a special ointment and carried out disinfection. But the Duke asks if this is all he did. The doctor replies that yes, and he developed it personally, so it turned out to be a good drug. And he can write the Duke a prescription if he wants. However, the man only smiles and says so. That he wants to thank him for his help, after which he asks if the doctor wants to ask for anything. But he only asks if he can see Lady Alice because helping Mr. Edwin is not only his merit, and without this girl, he could not do anything. However, the Duke then turns to the doctor and asks what he is talking about. Evan replies that if the man allows him to see her, he will tell her everything. After which, the Duke rises from his seat and heading towards the door tells the doctor to follow him. Evan agrees, and the main character goes to karate a little while later. The Duke at this time stands in front of his daughter's door, after which the Duke in shock asks if the girl is really gone, And one of the servants replies that yes, and in the morning he escorted the young lady to the room and since then has been on duty at the door. So it looks like she escaped through the window, and the Duke replies that he can't believe it and why would he do something so stupid? But at this time, one of the servants runs up to the Duke and claims that something bad has happened because a message has just arrived. That Lady Alice left the palace. The man then asks in shock what he is talking about. The servant doesn't even know whether to say it. That same morning, the girl approached the guards, but they told her to stop because going outside was prohibited. However, the young lady replied that she had been banished, to which the men were a little surprised, and the girl with tears in her eyes insisted that it was true, and she didn't want to become like her mother, so he ordered her to get out of there right now, after which the knight opened the gate and the young lady just left. One of the knights then remembered his daughter, and he understood that the girl was the same age as her, but he still thought that despite that, how bad is this child's character or how he has sinned, he thinks that his lordship was too cruel this time, after which the knight also turned to the lady and claimed that if she was heading in that direction, she could go karate. And that carriage is used by common people, so it can hardly be called comfortable, but it is much better than walking. The girl then smiled and thanked the knight. Now the servant finishes his story. And then the doctor is a little surprised and says that this child left alone, after which the Duke says that they should find this girl right now. The young lady at this time recalls the events of the novel. She understands that Michael, who had been abused, wanted to escape from the terrible man and regain control of his soul. It was a great opportunity to while away the wait, and Mikhail finally managed to get out. Hayden Island is little known and remote, and it's also the perfect place to live in the shadows. Mikhail was helped by people from the village, and time passed also, thanks to the help of good-natured residents. Gradually, Michael's mind and body were healed, but one day the entire village was burned to the ground. Edvan approached the guy, after which he claimed that it was useless because everyone had already plunged into a crippling sleep, and only they remained alive. Edvan also claimed that he said that he had no one but him. Now the young lady is sitting in a diner and writing something. The girl also writes about Felisa, who owned a bakery, the family of the blacksmith Malone Adele from the fruit shop. They were all kind people, and if you put on the mask of a poor child, any of the residents would take her under their wing. So the girl thinks that she needs to come up with a way for the people to retreat before Edwin appears. The young lady also takes out one ticket and reads that Hayden is the place that the refugees say is the background location in the second half of the episodes, and the girl understands that she must go there now, and no matter what, she cannot live in the palace. Therefore, it is necessary to stay there at least until she grows up, after which the young lady sees the boat. And heading towards her, he understands that Edwin is freed, so there is no need to worry. But Evan is in no hurry, and she must find the letter she left earlier. After all, judging by what she heard along the way, she believes that Anna was given a probationary period after a short investigation, and she will soon return to work. The girl also understands that Evan left a letter, and if he sees it, who will be able to avoid falling into a crippling sleep on the battlefield. Then the young lady hears the ship coming and heads towards it. The young lady standing in front of it also thinks if she did the right thing, after which she also remembers the boy who said that he would protect her and realizes that she misses him very much. However, the young lady then decides that she should not doubt, after which she stands in line and realizes that it is quite long. But then the girl hears someone whispering about why there are knights there, and apparently someone committed a serious crime. That's why all passengers are searched to ensure that criminals don't board the ship. And the main character then realizes that these are Esteban's knights. One of them at this time approaches the girl, and he also asks her name, and she claims that she is Anne Hathaway, and understands that she has to blurt out anything. The man also removes her hood and realizes that she has slightly curly hair and blue eyes, so she fits the description. The young lady then asks what he is talking about, and this is a common thing, after which she turns on one of the men, and he claims that he also has blue eyes and light curls, so they shouldn't judge a book by its cover. The knight then asks if she is talking about judging a book by its cover, and the girl just screams if she can go, and she has to get on the ship. After all, her mother said that it was very dangerous to go sailing on a ship alone, and told her not to talk to strangers because the guys were bad. However, then someone grabs the young lady by the hand and claims that she is Alice Gannett. After all, it really is. She and the young lady then thinks who it is. But when she turns around, Then she sees a bracelet with the outline of a dove, and the girl looks at the guy and thinks, is this really it? Alois Ehrman from the family of Marquis Ehrman, the main character, then goes back on karate, and she understands that it seems to her that she is getting worse because it is quite warm in the carriage. After which, the young lady asks where they are going now and whether they are really going to the Duke, but she still doesn't get an answer to her question and wonders if the Duke is looking for it and ordered it to be returned. However, the young man remains silent, and the girl understands that it is as if she is talking to a wall. Alois Ehrman is the offspring of Marquis Ehrman, a character who will become the commander of Duke Esteban's knights. Having become his friend, he volunteered to accompany Mikhail and blocked Edwin's path when Mikhail tried to escape and was also plunged into eternal sleep. Now the main character is thinking how poor the secondary characters are, and the original work is complete chaos, so life is too. At this time, the guy looks at the young lady and thinks what kind of look this is and whether she really sympathizes with him. The guy also realizes that she has changed in the months since he left the duchy, and the girl followed him so easily, so he thinks could it be that it wasn't her? At this time, the guy asks what her name is and also asks her age and location of the Duchy of Esteban, and let her even name her mother, and 3 more strange titles of books that she reads most often, but the young lady claims that she is not crazy. When they are already in the estate and heading up the stairs, the girl is breathing heavily. Well, when the knight turns around, she immediately goes into shock. The main character watching him thinks what's going on. But the guy just stands in front of her and prepares to defend himself in the last room of the young lady. He sees some guy, and the knight watching the bodies lying there understands that there are no signs of resistance. A little while earlier, the young man with black hair woke up and got out of bed. The first word he said was Alice, and the young man began to wander around the room, followed the girl, and then went out into the corridor. Then the young man walked past the maids who bowed to him, and then the young man approached the Duke's door. The knight then turned to the young gentleman, and the boy heard that in the Duke's office someone was claiming that they had mobilized all available forces. And Alice Gannett acted quite bravely, and where has it been seen that a child under 7 years old left the house in such weather? After which he claimed that Alois was looking for her. Then the young man wanted to go into the Duke's office, but the knight stopped him and the guy dealt with him. After which he opens the door to the Duke's room. His secretary then asks if this is the young gentleman. And the blonde at this time claims what a bad form it is. However, the boy only asks where Alice is. And his father replies that at least not in this house, after which the young man tells the guy to find her. And the Duke wonders if there is a reason to return when you leave on your own 2 feet. After which they just look at each other, but then Edvin is a little surprised and immediately runs out into the corridor. After which he sees the main character there who asks what happened. However, at that very moment, the young man hugs her tightly and the girl is a little surprised, after which she claims that she cannot breathe and asks if he is injured. However, the guy just remains silent, and the knight watches this with a little surprise. The young lady then says that the guy's wound has almost healed and that's great, and also asks if it hurts anywhere. Edvin presses the young lady's hand to his cheek and only answers yes, and the girl realizes that this is the first time she has seen him in such bright light. And it's very beautiful. The young man at this time only says that Alice and for what reason, and the girl claims that it's because of the heat. But when she turns around, she sees the Duke, after which she only puts on her hood and claims that she needs to go, but she will be back soon. Edvin then turns to Alice a little worriedly, and the girl states that if he continues to talk. However, at that very moment, the Duke turns to her and tells her to stand there, and also asks who it was that left their mansion without their consent. The girl then turns to the Duke and asks by what right he disposes of her since he first locked her up and then ordered her to return. The man then just looks at her furiously and asks what this girl is talking about, and the young lady asserts that she is her mother's daughter and that she has lost her title of Duchess. Therefore, she is no longer part of this house. And isn't that why he called her Gannett and not Esteban? The man only sighs after that. And then Edvin takes the girl by the hand and says that he is also leaving with Alice, but the girl screams that this is not possible. The young man then asks why, and the main character doesn't even know how to say it, and understands that he needs to meet with Mikhail. At this time, the guy asks Alice if she doesn't like being around her, and the girl replies that no, of course not, but he's still a child. However, the girl understands that she herself is 7 years old. The man at this time claims that he cannot let her go, so let the girl try. In the future, do not commit such rash acts and she will live in the room that was originally hers, and he can also offer a salary. The girl then asks why all of a sudden, and the man claims that if she leaves, she will leave. And Edwin, the only son, will not find it difficult to leave the estate, after which the Duke asks what her answer is. And the girl answers that she understood and will stay. Alice also understands that she almost went crazy with fear, after which everyone starts to fall off their feet. A little while later, the girl is already sitting in her bed, and he eats the porridge, after which he says that it is very tasty, and also thinks that it is as expected from home cooking. At this time, the maid says that it is good that the temperature has gone down, and the lady has regained her appetite. Alice also turns to Anna and asks if she has eaten, and she replies that she certainly has. After all, now she walks proudly with her shoulders straightened because rumors have spread throughout the mansion that the girl saved the young master from evil forces. And of course the lady wanted to harm her and so on, but as she asked, she kept her mouth shut. His lordship pressed her, but she did not give in. The main character then tells the maid that it was a good job and thanks her. But Anna then whispers something in her ear and asks how long the young master. She plans to stay there, after which the young lady sees a guy sitting nearby. He just looks menacingly at the maid, after which he gets scared, and the main character asks Edwin if he wants to go and get some fresh air. After all, the room is probably stuffy, but the young man replies that he doesn't want to, after which he crawls up to the young lady. And he lifts the blanket, after which he claims that if she doesn't want to see him, he'll crawl under the blanket. And the main character then replies in shock that no, and everything is fine, so let him stay there. After which the young man sits back down, and the main character understands that many things still seem strange to him because he just got out of the tower and he wants to stay in familiar surroundings. The main character then turns to Anna and says that she wants meat, so let the maid serve steak. However, Anna says that the mistress usually doesn't eat it. Alice. Well, the girl says that everything is fine, or she can serve her soup with a big piece of meat because it is easily digested. The maid then says to the mistress that it is excellent, and then, however, at that very moment, someone says that this cannot be done, and it turns out to be Evan. He puts his suitcase on a chair and insists that there is no steak soup because they can be eaten when the temperature drops. The maid then claims that she will bring a new towel right away, and the doctor then begins to examine the young lady. He states that she still has a slight fever and also a very swollen throat. Therefore, she should not go outside under any circumstances and needs bed rest, as well as easily digestible food. The main character then turns to Evan and asks if he is really that angry. The girl also has puppy eyes and asks if he will talk to her now. After this, the man breaks his hand and, rising from his chair, angrily asks if she is really out of her mind. He also screams how she can leave home 8 years ago, and in such cold weather it's so reckless and dangerous, and what would have happened if she had been kidnapped or found later. He also claims that if she has nowhere to go, she will be welcomed at his place, after which he asks if he really looks so heartless. The young lady then turns to Evan and claims that she did wrong and next time she will run away to Evan's house. The young man sighs after this and claims that he was terribly worried, so it's good that the lady returned. That same evening, the young lady is about to go to bed, but then she turns to Edwin and asks if he can leave her room. And also let him go and have a good rest, because tomorrow they will see each other again. But the guy then asks why she constantly drives him away. He also claims that he thought that if he left there, he could always be with Alice, but all she does is drive him away, and also leaves one. And now the young man turns to Alice and asks, does she really hate him? The main character then asks in shock if he is talking about hatred, after which he claims that Edwin is very good, and the young man asks if she will leave, then, after which the girl answers that she won't go anywhere, and the young man is silent for a while, after which he only bows his head. The main character, seeing how upset he was still, sighs and points to the place next to her, telling Edwin to go there. After all, they can sleep together because where he sits is clearly very uncomfortable. The guy does just that after that and lies down next to the young lady, and the main character sees this. He thinks how cute it is and says that this is probably the first time he has been able to lie so comfortably. After this, the young man just closes his eyes, and the main character understands that it is a little difficult. But if the guy meets Mikhail, he will stick to him forever, and she thinks whether she needs to explain this to Edvan in advance. How to behave so that he does not scare Mikhail. Mom young lady at this time sits in a dark room, and he bites his nails and also thinks about what is going on and how Alice met the witch, and also what kind of letter is this, after which the young lady's mother only scolds and asks that, in fact, she will not be executed. But at that moment, someone enters the room, and the woman looking at this man says that this is Dietrich, after which she also falls to her knees and screams that she didn't know, and also has no idea what kind of letter it is and knows nothing. However, the man claims that it does not matter who exactly sent this letter. After all, only its content and the authenticity of the latter are important. The trial will take place soon, so let the woman bow her head. And he admits his guilt, after which she screams in shock that he knows that this child is his. The man replies that he knows and claims that the punishment will not be soft, because the reason for this was not Edwin, but the poisoning and immersion into eternal sleep of the first Duchess. And then the woman was a commoner, and therefore would be accused of putting a noble person into eternal sleep. And she will be executed. Now the woman here grabs the Duke by the clothes and begs him to save her. She also tries to say something, but the Duke does not react to this. The woman then has tears in her eyes. She claims that she is Alice's mother and wants to say something else, but the man addresses her as Karina Gannett, and he asks if she really wants to plunge into eternal sleep, after which he also claims that he hates repeating himself twice, and the trial will only be held on the case of immersion into eternal sleep, but this will save her a week after the thoughtless escape. The young lady eats meat and realizes that perhaps her cold has quickly passed thanks to good rest. And today Evan allowed her to eat steak while Edwin sat quietly in her room, and when night came, she often visited his temporary rest. Today, when the repairs were finally completed, I saw her. Then the guy will move to his own bedroom, and now the young lady asks if he remembered the way, to which the young man answers, yes. After which the butler points to the room and states that the renovation work was only completed today, and he strictly followed the Duke's instructions, but if anything happens, they can contact him with any questions. After which the servant opens the room and the main character is surprised seeing this luxurious interior. When she sits on the guy's bed, she claims that she is very soft and he will sleep well, after which the girl also asks if he remembers what she was talking about, and the young man replies that yes, and she said to wash every day, and also if the clothes are dirty, then they need to be changed. If the food has spoiled, then you still can't eat it. And if something hurts, then you need to talk and also study hard and not break anything, and also not put people into eternal sleep without permission. The guy also asks if it is possible to also put people who offend Alice into eternal sleep, and the girl, a little surprised, answers no. The young man then asks Alice not to leave and stay there. The girl at this time, with a smile on her face, says that the guy has learned everything well. One of the servants then suggests that the lady go to her room, to which the girl agrees, after which she states that it is time for her to go. She also wishes Edwin good night, after which the boy says goodbye to her and remains alone in the room. Well, when some time passes, he gets out of bed and takes his cape. He sits down on the floor and then realizes that he doesn't want to sleep in a soft bed at all. And the main character at this time is on the street and digs up the ground, after which she sees a chest, and she realizes that she finally found him. The girl also takes out the letter and realizes that she left it with Evan before she ran away from home. Well, she decided to stay, so she needs to get rid of him. The girl also understands that it would be difficult for her to explain if the guy got to him. And it's good that he didn't find it during this time, but she is obliged to warn about the dangers that await in the future. Edwan to the battlefield before winter arrived, and brought Michael to the palace. Therefore, the girl understands that the start of hostilities cannot be allowed, but she thinks about how to avoid events that have not yet happened. At this time, someone addresses Alice, and the main character realizes that it is Edvan, after which she asks if he has finished yet, and what lesson he has completed. The guy replies that it was the history of the Empire. And the young lady then asks if he can really master such difficult subjects, and that is very cool, so she claims that her friend is cool. For the past few days, Edwin has been studying different subjects and teachers who have taught him theories. And also those who tested the guy in practice, all without exception, called the guy a genius. Alice also understands that he mastered fencing techniques after looking at her just once and learned the alphabet at an incredible speed, so his level is slightly above average in all aspects. Now the young lady just looks at the guy and asks, "What's the matter?" and also, should he return to his studies. However, the guy tells Alice that it is very cold there and suggests going back. The girl then asks if it's cold and claims that everything seems to be fine, but the guy takes her hand. And he replies that it is not an answer. A person can get sick if he freezes, and Alice is still weak. The girl replies that everything is not that bad. Well, and then she says that Edwin has never played in the snow, after which she says that she is teaching him and he will need gloves. However, when the main character returns, she wonders why she suddenly became round. The young lady also remembers how the maid dressed her warmer and warmer, and now she picks up snow in her hands. And he also says that Edwin should watch carefully because you need to collect snow with your hands and then make a ball like this, and this needs to be thrown at another person. The young man then asks why, and the main character replies that it's because it's fun, after which she throws a snowball at the guy. And when he shakes himself off, the girl just laughs and asks if he is having fun. The young man then looks at the main character's smile and answers yes, after which the girl throws a snowball at him again. Well, when the young man aims at her, he misses. The young lady even hits him right in the face. However, the guy throws it near her feet and it doesn't hit. Alice understands that they are not able to play for some reason, after which she asks if Edwin likes the guy, and he replies that he does. And the girl understands that the snow is apparently quite sticky, and then suggests making a snowman because that would be even more fun. A little while later, the girl is already making a snowman that looks like Edwin and is smiling. At this time, the doctor also comes up to them and asks if they have made a snowman. After which he also asks how long they have been there, and also claims that the cold air is harmful to the respiratory tract. The girl claims that they have just arrived. But then she gets an idea and she says that she wants to play at Evan's house. The guy then asks why so suddenly, and the girl replies that she wants to see Mikhail and take a walk with Edvan. The doctor then claims that the young gentleman has not yet gone out into the outside world, and he will ask permission. The main character then agrees, but Edwin only remains silent, after which he repeats the word, "ask for permission." A little while later, the young lady is already in the carriage and thinks how good it is that she doesn't get seasick, and it's also warm. The guy then asks if she was really seasick and when, and the girl replies that it was when she escaped from the estate in her carriage. And of course, not everything is so bad, but the Duke's carriage is much better. The doctor at this time turns to the lady and says that she should not try to escape again, and Edwin claims that if Alice decides to escape, he will escape with her. A little while later, they are already driving past the city, and the young man looks out the window. The main character then asks if this is surprising, and the young man replies that he doesn't know. Well, he sees something like this for the first time and wants to see more. After that, the girl suggests that they go together sometime. But Anna said that there was delicious pudding there, to which the young man only agreed. The doctor at this time watched them with a smile on his face, and a little while later they arrived at the estate. Then they get out of the carriage and Evan welcomes them into his home. The main character then also sees the cat, and the doctor only lifts her in his arms. Evan also turns to the maid and asks if Mikhail is still sleeping, and the woman replies that yes, and he ate on time and also took his medicine. Well, when they enter the guy's room, the main character turns to Evan and asks, didn't he say that the guy had already recovered? The main character also looks at the young man, and he realizes that he looks very pale and his breathing is heavy. Evan at this time turns to the lady and tells her not to worry because the guy is already much better and he is almost completely recovered. The guy also remembers how the young man ran around with huge balls of snow, and he threw them at his brother, after which he almost swam in the snow, and he claims that he was given permission to go outside. So he played in the cold all day and caught a cold, after which they all remain silent, and the young man is just sleeping contentedly, and the main character thinks how naughty he is, but she is still glad that he had fun. After which the main character looks at the chest of drawers and wonders if this is really a flower wreath. The doctor claims that Michael made this wreath as a return gift to the lady, and he missed it while he was sick and insisted on it. Edwin asks what is return, and the girl asks if he remembers the day when she brought him a wreath, to which the young man agrees. And Alice claims that she made the same for Mikhail and Edvan, and apparently that's why Mikhail made a wreath for her, and the doctor at this time says that he will then bring something to eat, so let them wait there. At this time, the girl looks at the wreath and understands that if you look at it like this, these flowers bloom in the summer. At this time, Edwin turns to Alice, and the young lady then claims that Mikhail suffered because of the cake intended for her, and even went as far as hematemesis, and he must have been very scared, so now the young lady claims that she is sorry that such an active child is because of her. I had to spend the whole season in bed, and Evan probably had a hard time too. The brunette is silent for a bit after this, but asks if Alice really almost ate the poisoned cake, and the girl replies that yes, and she also gets goosebumps. But then the main character remembers something and looks at Edwin and also at Mikhail. He understands that this is the first meeting of the main couple of the story, and now the young lady turns to Edvan, who asks if this boy doesn't look like an angel and if there's a bell ringing in his head. The girl also claims that his name is Mikhail, and she already said and also really wanted to introduce him. The guy then asks why, and the young lady tells him to give her his hand, after which she puts it to his cheek. Michaela, and looking at Edwin, thinks really nothing is happening, after which she understands that the guy's ability does not manifest itself as it did in the original. At this time, the young man opens his eyes, and the girl understands that thanks to Evan, the curse of horror has come to naught. When the main character sees that the guy has woken up, she immediately turns to him, and Edwin at this time only wipes the finger with which he touched Mikhail. But when Mikhail gets out of bed and sees the young lady, he immediately lies back down and wraps herself in a blanket and asks why she is there. The girl answers that she missed Mikhail, and that is why she came to visit. However, the guy claims that it was not worth it. And when Alice asks if he really missed her, he screams that he didn't at all. The girl then turns to Mikhail and asks if he can look out for a second because she brought a friend, but the guy claims that Alice has no friends, and the girl replies that she has some, and it only seems to him that she doesn't have any, after which she tells the guy to get up because they will all be friends together and asks if he agrees. However, when the young man turns around and looks at Edwin, he becomes a little scared and asks what is this because he does not look like a person. The main character then asks if Mikhail knows that this is bad manners and asks if she should complain to Evan. However, the young man says that he is ashamed, so she should not speak, and then tells the main character to apologize. The girl then introduces them to each other and claims that this is Edwin, and that he is also the young master and family of Duke Esteban, after which he asks if it turns out that they are brother and sister, asks them how they can be friends. The young lady then asks if that is so. However, the brunette immediately replies that no, they are not brother and sister, after which the girl replies that she has a different mother and father, so they are more like friends. And the young lady understands that, frankly speaking, they are not really related. At this time, the doctor enters the room and states that Mikhail has woken up, and the girl at this time is thinking why it seems to her that she was just hit. The girl then turns to Evan, and he asks the lady what is going on, and the girl only asks if she can have a few words with him, after which the guy says he doesn't mind. And the main character says that these two should stay there for now because she needs to tell Evan something. Mikhail then asks in shock what she is talking about and tells them not to leave. However, the girl already comes out with Mikhail's brother and says that for now the guy should apologize to Edwin, after which the two remain in the room. But when Mikhail turns to the guy, he sees that he is looking at him coldly, and the young man, a little frightened, asks what he wants. Edwin at this time only throws the wreath of flowers on the floor. Mikhail then asks what the guy is doing, and he just steps on the wreath, after which the young man with blonde hair pushes him away. And she looks at the guy furiously, and he looks back at her coldly. The main character is sitting with the doctor at this time, and the guy asks what the lady wanted to talk to him about, and the girl claims that she has a question. And she asks if he hides his magical abilities from those around him, to which the guy replies that yes, and in theory, he should have already visited the temple. Well, he thinks that it's better to keep it a secret until Mikhail grows up, and in any case, the magic wasn't that strong when he was born. The main character then asks if the Duke asked questions about Edwin's wounds, and these are not the kind of wounds that can be healed with ordinary medicine. The doctor then replies that he made a good ointment and used it, and the young lady understands that it is written on his face that this is a lie, after which she claims that she came there because of the words she heard from the Duke. Evan asks if she is talking about Duke Esteban, and the girl replies that yes, and the Duke said that people endowed with magical abilities will be assigned to the Imperial Castle. The guy then asks what she is talking about, saying that she is sure that the Duke already suspects Evan, and besides, the girl understands that with the help of the temple, it will not be difficult to identify the gifted ones, and if he is exposed, she will immediately seize him. And now the young lady asks why he doesn't leave there for a while. Alice understands that her desire to send him somewhere is quite understandable. After all, in a few days, the Duke will visit the capital to participate in a conference on the Southern War, and then, when the war breaks out, they will go to the battlefield. And then the Duke will take Evan, so if he is not there in the winter, he will be able to avoid his fate. Now the main character is telling Evan to believe her because this is all for him and Mikhail. The young man thinks for a moment and realizes that even though this is a 7-year-old child speaking, it is not easy to ignore her words. After all, recently the young lady has been behaving in such a way that even as an adult he is amazed. The girl then wants to say something, but hears Mikhail screaming for the guy to get out. After which they immediately run into the room and Alice asks what happened, but when she sees these two fighting on the floor, she is very surprised. At this time, Mikhail screams who the guy is and what right does he have to spoil someone else's. Evan tells Mikhail to stop, but when the young man doesn't do this, he just grabs him. And Mikhail at this time screams that he hates the guy and that he is a scoundrel. The main character at this time approaches Edwin and offers to examine him, after which she looks at his face and claims that there are scratches, so everything is fine. But then the girl also looks at all the mess they made and thinks, what happened there? Evan at this time turns to Mikhail and tells him to apologize to Mr. Edwin. However, the boy replies that he would never do that because he started it. However, the doctor then addresses his brother by his full name and claims that he does not remember teaching him to be rude. However, the young man then, with tears in his eyes, claims that Edwin was the first to knock over his wreath and trample it, and also cursed at him. The main character then approaches the brunette and asks if he ruined Mikhail's wreath, after which she asks why he did it, but the young man remains silent, and the main character then sighs and goes to Mikhail and asks if he is very upset. The girl also claims that Edwin lived for a long time in a small dark room, which he left only a few days ago, and he sat there since early childhood. Mikhail then asks how that is possible. And the young lady claims that it is scary to even imagine and asks if this is true. However, she claims that Edwin has held on very steadfastly, but making friends is still not easy for him. So the young lady turns to Mikhail and asks if he can understand him. However, the young man then reveals that the guy trampled his wreath and he wanted to give it to the young lady. The main character then goes to the place where the trampled wreath lies, after which she picks up the flowers and tells Mikhail to look because there are still undamaged flowers there. And if Mikhail makes a bag of incense with their help, she will leave it in her room. And as for her, this is a great gift. The young man is only embarrassed after this, after which he takes the flowers in his hands, and the main character says that Mikhail is like an angel, and the young man tells her not to treat him like a child. Edwin is watching all this and understands that Alice values this guy, so he can't be harmed. He also understands that he thought that he could always be with Alice when he left that room, but too many things are important to her, and the guy is now wondering if Alice really likes more than just him. At that moment, the girl turns to the guy and tells him to come over. The young man does so, and the main character strokes his head, after which she claims that the wreath is important to Mikhail, and therefore asks if Edwin can promise that he will no longer take other people's things without permission. The young man only remains silent in response to this, and the main character then tells them to apologize to each other. However, when they look at each other, Mikhail looks irritated and Edwin upset, and when the young lady looks at them, she thinks that they are about to fight. Mikhail then screams that he hates the guy, so let him go. Then the doctor blocks their way to each other. Then the girl thinks what is wrong with them, and also what is wrong with Edwin. Well, then one thought came to her head, and the girl understands that despite the changes, this is the world of BL, and the sensual story in which Edwin saves Michael with the help of magic has changed, but in its place, a new storyline has formed. And it is called From Hate to Love or Confrontation, despite the fact that they are childhood friends. That same evening, the girl thinks about how she told the doctor to leave. and she wonders if Evan will believe her. The girl also understands that she needs to decide what to do if he doesn't leave, and if he does leave, how will Edwin and Mikhail's relationship develop? After all, the story of childhood friends reuniting is not so bad, and if they reunite, they will definitely quarrel. After which the young lady is already going to sleep. However, at that very moment, he heard some kind of rumble and gets up from the bed, after which he heads to the door. But when he opens the door and looks into the corridor, he sees no one there. The young lady is then a little surprised and wonders what it was. A little while later, the girl is already walking down the corridor and wondering how many days have passed. But it is possible to fall into eternal sleep. On the first day, she thought it was a ghost, but after a few days she realized that it was just a mockery, and every night when she falls asleep, then someone kicks the bedroom door as if he can't bother her directly so that it prevents her from sleeping normally, and she doesn't know whether someone can take revenge on Karina or whether someone doesn't like that she is treated like an aristocrat. Now the girl sighs and wonders if such an attitude towards a 7-year-old child is childish, and especially since she sleeps poorly, maybe that's why she feels so dizzy. After which the young lady begins to fall, but then someone screams her name and grabs her. The books of this young man fall down the stairs. It turns out to be Edwin, and the guy asks if Alice is okay, to which the girl thanks him and claims that she hasn't been sleeping well lately, and she herself understands that something bad almost happened. The girl also claims that this will not work, and she thinks that she will return to her room, but the young man grabs her hand and offers to go together because he will take her there. As the two walk down the corridor, the young man asks Alice if she has problems sleeping, and the girl replies that she has nightmares, after which the young man asks what kind of nightmares she has. And the girl claims that these are dreams in which someone hates her. Alyanushka then stops, and the main character, noticing this, asks, "What is it?" But the young man is only interested in why one can hate and how to hate Alice. The main character then thinks about how to explain everything to her. Not long after, they find themselves at the door of the young lady's room, and the main character asks if the guy has any classes again today, if so. Then he can read this book in her room, to which the young man agrees, and the girl thanks him, after which the young lady tells him not to close the door and to come in. The guy does just that, but when he turns to Alice, he sees that she is already asleep, after which he covers the girl with a blanket. And he looks at her. However, then the young man suddenly feels someone's presence and then turns towards the corridor, and she crosses the gaze of one of her servants. A little while later, the main character already opens her eyes, and when she gets up from the couch, she claims that she hasn't slept so well for a long time. But then the girl looks at the ground and sees Edwin there, after which she asks why he is there. The young man then wakes up and claims that someone is coming, but when the girl looks at the door, he claims that there is no one. However, at that very moment, the butler enters the room and greets the young master and the young lady, and the main character then thinks that someone really has come. At this time, the butler claims that his lordship is inviting the lady to dinner, and a little while later they are already heading there. When they go there, the maids look at them a little strangely, and the main character and her boyfriend at this time come to the hall for dinner. The girl then greets his lordship and the young man also, after which they sit down and begin to eat. The man then says that it is good that Edwin came with her, because when he called him, the guy did not even want to listen. The main character then looks at the guy a little surprised, but he just eats silently. The girl thanks him for the invitation with a shaking voice, but the Duke says that it is too noisy, so he suggests eating silently, after which the girl does so. But when you eat this dish, you think that it is incredibly delicious, and being cooked by a chef is on a completely different level. Edwin at this time hands Alice his steak and tells her to eat this one too because he is already full. The young lady then takes it, and the guy also claims that the old man cut it into pieces so that she would not choke. Main character then understands that the young man simply crushed him and thinks what he is talking about, after which she thanks him and says that she will definitely try. The girl is also proud that she brought him up so well. The Duke at this time claims that the girl's relationship with Dr. Elgar has noticeably improved, and he told him about it. That the girl changed the lock in the tower, and that she promised to stay in the estate. Alice claims that Evan is a good doctor, and the man at this time says that he remembers that the girl hated him before, and I remember she once made a fuss because of the change of her doctor. The young lady then asks him what he is talking about, but then remembers one day the girl hit the young man with a whip, and she screamed how he could be so impudent, and also screamed that she hated him and let him go away. Now the main character remembers this and is shocked, and he claims that today he is a friend and tomorrow an enemy, after which the Duke claims that he is hearing such an expression for the first time, and the young lady mentally apologizes to the doctor and understands that she will definitely apologize later. But the Duke claims that in any case he invited her to dinner today because he has something to tell her. She will have to testify in court. The girl then asks in which court, and the Duke replies that this is the trial of Karina Gannett, and the young lady is surprised and also understands that she thought it was a family matter, and he would deal with it himself. But the case went to court, and it is surprising that with such a character he leaves Karina alive, after which the young lady thinks that this is strange and suddenly she feels sad. The girl also wonders if it's normal that she still has Alice's feelings. At this time, Edwin asks if the girl is okay, and the Duke claims that it's not easy for children. And he asks if she understands that her mother wanted to put her into eternal sleep, but even so to be sad. The main character then thinks, how does he know, and did he really interrogate Karina's maid, and also tries to understand why the woman tried to get rid of her, but the fact is that she could have sent it. Rube and the leaf are still unopened, and now the young lady claims that it is her fault, and she wanted attention, so she hid her mother's wedding ring. The Duke also knows that Mom's engagement ring is big and sparkling, which is why Mom loved it, but the little girl realizes that she actually liked the Duchess's ring more. Edwin at this time turns to His Excellency and states that he wants to hear more about the poison, and the man tells the boy to think about calling him Dad, after which the young man remains silent and continues his meal. The main character understands that she needs to quickly, yes, eat and run away, because this is from the rich man as if he absorbs all the air around. After which the girl continues to eat, and Edwin, having finished his meal, stares at her, after which the Duke also finishes his tea and looks at the young lady. The girl then cannot stand such a look and thanks him brightly for dinner, after which she claims that they will go. But the man then turns to her and says that being a witness is a must for the judge. And it won't work to get away like last time, but the young lady claims that she didn't run away. Then she sees Edwin looking at her and claiming that she won't run away and will do what she has to. A little while later, they are already heading down the corridor, and the young lady sighs and realizes that she did not expect to be so confused and nervous. The girl also realizes that not a single thought comes to her mind. After this, one of the butlers approaches the young lady and states that he, with great respect, must ask her for a favor, and he asks if the girl will help cut the young gentleman's hair. The main character then asks what he is talking about, and the man claims that the gentleman's hair has grown so much that he must cut it, but the gentleman does not allow it, and he thinks that with the help of the lady, he will somehow get out of it. And a little while later, the main character claims that it is simple and she will help. The girl also claims that she is good at it, and the butler at this time, in shock, asks why the lady needs a bowl. However, the young lady tells him not to worry because she used to cut all her friends' hair like that. The butler then wants to say that this is not just her friend, but after that, he only sighs. And the main character finishes a little while later, and raising the bowl claims that they can look at the intermediate result, but when the girl raises the bowl, the butler almost faints. The young lady only says that Edwin looks very good, and the young man blushes a little because of the compliment. A little while later, the main character is already outside and thinks that the weather is great. Anna then turns to the lady and claims that today she is in a good mood, and also that something has made her happy, and the main character understands that yesterday no one came, and she never woke up. The girl also claims that she slept very well last night, and Anna claims that at her age an elephant is extremely important, and asks if the lady went out for a walk. The girl replies that no, and she goes to meet Edwin because they agreed to go to the city together. The maid then asks if the lady is afraid of the young gentleman, and the young lady then wonders if they are afraid. Anna replies that, of course, and he is still a child, but when she looks into his eyes, that is, she becomes scared without any good reason, and even at that age the gentleman is strong enough to defeat most of his lordship's knights. And moreover, it seems to her that there are no people there at all except for the lady who are not afraid of him, but the girl replies that not to that extent, and the maid replies that this is true because she can't even imagine how surprised she is when the girl smiles. The main character then sighs and realizes that apparently she just has such an aura, and she also thinks that even now the guy has the opportunity to spend most of his childhood among people. Edwin from the original story was deprived of this, and if we continue to work with his head, or better to say educate him, then everything can change. And now the girl turns to Anna, and also says that she should look after him because their Edwin is growing up extraordinary. The maid then asks how the mistress looks at Mr. Edwin, but she says that in any case, she said that she is going to the city, so she will prepare everything necessary. The girl also thinks about the question of how she looks at the guy and remembers his words that they are not brother and sister. The young lady also thinks what this means, and she understands that the mistakes she made earlier can no longer be corrected. If it really left a bad taste in her mouth, then the guy wouldn't follow her the way he does now. And the girl wonders if it could be that he is hostile to the very idea of a family. The young lady then hears someone calling her, and when she turns around, then he sees that it is Edwin. The young lady also sees the cap on his head and thinks it is cute and asks how he knew that she was coming. The guy replies that he did it by the sound of footsteps and the smell, and the main character says that someone is asking if there was no fencing training today and also asks where his sword is. The young man at this time claims that he got dirty and that's why he didn't take it. There is some body lying nearby in the bushes. At this time, the main character turns to the guy and asks if he will go to the city with her, to which he agrees. And then he turns back into those bushes, but the young lady asks if he is interested in where they are going. Well, the young man replies that wherever Alice wants, and the girl answers yes, after which she asks if he remembers this place. A little while later, the main character runs into the bakery and addresses Mikhail. The young man then greets Alice happily, but when he sees Edwin next to her, he only gets angry. The main character claims that good children should greet each other when they meet, after which she tells them to greet each other. However, at this time, Mikhail only screams for the guy to leave him alone and hits him on the hat at the same moment it falls to the floor, and when Mikhail sees the guy's hair, he just starts laughing loudly. He even cries from laughter and asks, "What is this?" And the doctor asks Mikhail to stop. At this time, Edwin asks Alice why he is angry, and the girl replies that it is because such an attitude spoils the mood. A little while later, Mikhail is already sitting quietly, and his brother claims that he needs to discuss something with the lady, so let them sit with Mr. Edwin. The guy then asks what exactly and says that he will go with them, but the main character claims that if he beats Edwin in a staring contest, he will go with them, to which the young man cries out, "Why?" And the main character wonders what it is and whether the guy thinks that he won't be able to defeat Edwin, to which the young man is only surprised. After which she starts playing a staring contest with this guy. The young lady understands that if you look at it this way, then Mikhail is morally more stable, and yet persistence is the main character's basic skill. After which the main character sits down at a table nearby and asks if Evan has thought about what they discussed last time. The guy replies that he was very worried but still decided to stay. The girl then asks if she can find out the reason, and the young man replies that there are many people close to him there. And to be honest, he initially decided to leave and even started looking for shelter. But before leaving, he began to worry about the lady and the young gentleman, and also the thought that he would have to leave the disadvantaged residents he cares about does not give him peace. At this time, Mikhail is losing a staring contest, and his brother claims that he does not think that giving up everything is the best option, because every time he finds himself on the verge of losing his power, he will manage to get out of a difficult situation thanks to an amazing coincidence of circumstances, and he thinks that it is God's will, so that if he is in danger, then he believes that the goddess will protect him, and this time, after which he asks if the lady will also take care of him, Alice agrees and claims that she has nothing to add, and then the guy should be careful always and everywhere, to which the young man replies that he understood. A little while later, the main character is already in the estate, and the maid tells the mistress that the preparations are complete. The girl then claims that she is wearing such clothes for the first time and understands that this day has finally come. The maid also wishes her mistress a good journey. and she says that upon her return she will definitely prepare her a large portion of her favorite dessert, to which the young lady agrees and thanks Anna, after which she heads outside and apologizes for being late. But when he sees Evan there, he asks, a little surprised, why he is there, and the guy replies that he will go with her, and Mikhail, looking out from behind his brother's shoulders, claims that he will go too. The young lady then asks in shock why, but then the Duke turns to her and claims that it was he who called them the main character, then in shock thinks why and what is going on there. A little while later, they already find themselves in front of the courtroom. Edwin claims that 300 years ago this estate belonged to the Grand Duke of Delphios, and he organized a rebellion and cut the prince's throat, after which the buildings began to be used for legal proceedings. The main character then asks how the guy knows, and he answers that he read in a book about the art of traveling around the capital in one collection that she bought, and the main character then says that now it's clear. At this time, Evan claims that this is also his first time in a court session, and then the young people turn to him and ask how this happened, and it is also claimed that she no longer runs away, but Evan still accompanies her to the capital. The guy then replies that there is nothing to be done because it is the Duke's order, and also says that the girl should not worry because his lordship is simply very worried about the lady. The main character looking at him thinks what a naive soul he is and also does not understand what to do with him, after which she turns to Edwin and Mikhail and also says that they are following us. But when she looks at these guys and how carefree they are, she realizes that her shoulders feel heavy. After that, they enter the courtroom. The main character understands that in the former world there is no nobleman who has not heard about what happened and they know her. The girl also understands that she was in a good mood a few minutes ago. At this time, the aristocrats whisper among themselves and claim that the child is the son of Duke Esteban, and his hair is really black, and he also looks very much like his lordship, because even from afar you can see how beautiful the child is. The main character thinks how awkward she is and understands that in such situations, the main character attracts attention to himself, after which the girl turns to the guy and asks if everything is okay, but the young man asks what is going on. And the main character claims that people are looking at him and asks if he feels hostility or embarrassment, but the young man remains silent after that. And then he puts his hand on the hand of the young lady and also claims that now everything is fine, and the main character taking his hand says that it is okay. The Duke at this time is standing in another place. Then someone asks if this child's name is Alice, and the Duke replies that yes, and another person claims that apparently this girl is friends with the Duke's son, to which he only remains silent, and a little while later, the trial is declared open. The lady with red hair is brought into the room, and then the court hearing is held. The young lady also gives her testimony, and when the judge makes a decision, he states that the name of the accused is Karina Gannett. The following punishments are attributed to her: imprisonment, violence, torture, blackmail, extortion of money and jewelry from the permanent servants of the duchy. In addition, the defendant poured poison into the tea of the late Duchess Elijah Esteban for a long time, which caused her to fall into eternal sleep. After which the judge asks whether the accused admits her guilt, to which the woman replies yes. And the young lady thinks that this is strange because under normal circumstances, Karina would have thrown a tantrum in an attempt to prove that she was set up. That's why now the little girl is wondering why she is so calm. And the judge at this time claims that Karina Gannett committed many crimes, and each of them falls under the criteria of serious crimes, or especially grave, so the sentence is deprivation of citizenship and lifelong expulsion from the territory of the empire. After this, the court hearing ends, and the main character thinks that all this is very strange. The commoner poisoned the Duchess, and for this she should have been sentenced to death, but the Duke acted on the side, and the little girl wonders why he would do this. After which she thinks maybe Karina has other secrets that she doesn't know about at this time. Someone turns to the lady and asks if everything is okay. It turns out to be Evan. And he asks how about going for a walk before they leave because he will ask permission from his lordship, to which the young lady replies that this is excellent, and she has always wanted to go to one place. Well then someone turns to Gannett the younger and claims that the Duke is calling her, after which the young lady is a little surprised, and the servant claims that the Duke asked her to come alone, and the others can wait, and also the knight will escort them to the restroom. Edwin claims that he will go with her, but the servant claims that even the young master cannot disobey the Duke's order. However, the young man then looks menacingly at the servant, which frightens him, and the main character turns to Edwin and claims that everything is fine because there is nothing special about it, and she goes alone. The guy asks if he can't even stand outside the door, and the girl then turns to the guy and claims that they will probably need to talk about her mother, but she doesn't want the guy to remember bad things, so let him wait a little because she'll be back soon after, which the young man just nods and the main character thanks him, after which she turns to the servant and states that they can go. A little while later, they are already approaching one of the offices, and the servant states that he has brought Gannet the younger, after which he tells her to come in. And the young lady does so, but then she sees another man there and is a little surprised. The girl then lifts her dress and greets and asks if His Majesty was well treated, and also claims that to meet him is part of their family. The girl gets down on one knee and observes the hierarchy by age. After all, this is the most important aspect of etiquette in the Eastern country. Well, then they are silent, and the main character thinks what she is doing. The young lady understands that in the original, the Emperor was a powerful villain. He was also aware of Michael's powers, so he tried to get rid of him, but his plans failed, so Edwin began to pursue him, and then the Emperor tried to evacuate along the route indicated by Duke Esteban. But nevertheless, Edwin grabbed him, and then the Duke and Karina lost their heads, after which the guy ascended the throne, and his obsession grew into madness. The Emperor is the most powerful person according to the rules of this world, and she hardly has any area, so she unknowingly chose the best option to introduce herself. But now the girl is sitting and thinking why she was called. The man at this time claims that the girl looks very similar and asks how old she is, to which the little girl replies that she is 7. The Emperor then remains silent for a while, after which he states that it will be a long time. And the Duke agrees with him. The young lady then thinks how long it will be, and what it means, very similar. The Emperor at this time asks if she knows the meaning of the word burden, and the young lady claims that such a thing should not be in the head of a little girl. The Emperor then remains silent for a while, and then asks if the girl learned this from the Duke. However, the Duke tells His Majesty that he is also hearing about this for the first time, after which the man only laughs and says that this is a rather funny child, and also asks how many years are left, and the children answer that there should be about 10. His Majesty also claims that leaving the girl in the palace is too dangerous, but also outside the palace, so the Duke suggests leaving her in the estate for now until the issue is looked into. The young lady then asks them in her mind not to talk as if she is not there. The Emperor at this time asks if they will leave the girl in the Duke's family, to which he replies that yes. And the man then claims that they will do so, because nothing can be done, and also says that they will see each other in 10 years. The young lady only remains silent in response to this, and after that they leave the room. The young lady then turns to the Duke, but he only asks how the girl knew that His Majesty was in front of her. The little girl is then a little surprised, and the man asks how she knew that it was the Emperor seeing him for the first time. The girl claims that he sat in a place of honor and spoke with the Duke in a private setting, so a person occupying the position of the highest Duke probably comes from a royal family well. And if we add to this the honorable age, then we can guess that in front of me the Emperor Duke then claims that the girl is smarter than he thought, and the main character thinks what this means, after which she turns to his lordship and asks if he knows that she is only 7 years old. The Duke wonders what this question is about, and the girl only smiles and understands that she is afraid that he gave her into the hands of the Emperor for some unknown purpose, and that is why he asks. After which she claims that it is difficult to explain, and the man claims that then there is no point in asking, after which the young lady thinks that everything is correct. The man at this time claims that he does not know what she came up with there. But even if the winged ones make a fuss without reason, it's not his problem. The main character then asks what he's talking about, and the man at that time says to prepare a carriage for them. The servants agree. After which he tells the lady to go with him. The girl then understands that she still needs to ask the Duke why he called Evan today, but then he is already leaving. When the Duke is heading in the carriage, one of the servants turns to him, and he claims that it seems to his lordship that the younger Gannet is to his liking. The man replies that the girl looks like a duckling that was just released into the garden, after which he also asks if the guy found what he asked for. He replies that he has been looking for a long time for the merchant selling rube tea, but there are still no leads, and he believes that she may have already fled to another country. The man also asks what the temple says, and the servant replies that he contacted him 4 days ago, but they are not eager to cooperate. The Duke then asks who will be the next watering priest, and the servant answers that the priest Raphael and the blond man claim that again, the old man and apparently the proximity to immersion in eternal sleep is equal to the proximity to God. The servant claims that people also live in the temple, and there is no other choice. And moreover, it is impossible to say for sure whether the temple will now remain under God's protection. However, if a person with power appears, then he will be able to concentrate all the power around himself, and the guy claims that Evan Elgar certainly healed the young master, so he asks if the guy really has magical abilities. And the Duke replies that it is necessary to observe him for some time, and the brown-haired man claims that he constantly receives answers from the magic tower, that without the participation of the temple, it will be quite difficult to determine the presence of magical powers in any case. So he thinks it will take a long time. The Duke then says that even if more funding is needed for research, then let the guy not spare money, to which he agrees, and also asks if it is possible to establish surveillance. Evan Elgar. The Duke replies that no, and Edwin will notice it right away. And besides, Evan is busy with something else. The servant then asks what the gentleman is talking about, and he claims that the girl is not as weak as she seems at first glance. Therefore, it is too early for her to fall into eternal sleep. The baby is at this time near the sea, despite one ship seeing how Karina is taken to it. The young lady then watches this, and Evan at this time turns to the lady Alice, then claims that she is fine and thinks it would be weird to come up and say hello. She also claims that her mother will be unhappy, after which she thinks that the Duke, the Emperor, and Karina clearly have a plan that she is unaware of. Well, now the little girl takes two guys by the hands and understands that they are in a hurry because the secondary characters are not able to defeat the main characters, and her protagonists will spend their childhood without traumatic shock and grow up mentally healthy. A year later, the girl is already lying on the grass and thinking about the plot from sworn enemies to childhood friends. At this time, Evan turns to the lady and claims that it is not yet enough outside to sleep there, but the young lady says that the day is so nice and asks if Mikhail is here. Evan replies that he said he was going into the backyard and would be back, but the girl seemed to be freezing, so he should go back inside first. Well then, the young lady stared at the guy, and he asks if there is something on his face, to which the girl replies that there is not, and claims that he has grown into a good person. Marie then claims that she is saying something strange again. And the young lady understands that after that winter full of upheavals, another winter has passed and the war of two empires is heating up on the southern front. Evan still works as the Duke's family doctor, and Edwin did not plunge anyone into a crippled sleep, but he, as in the original for a long time, is busy with combat training among the knights or on his own training ground. In order to help the main character was closer, she often arranged meetings. And today is no exception, so the young lady is now heading to the place where Mikhail should be. Evan claims that this is strange because the guy said that he would definitely be there, and the young lady says that he couldn't have gotten lost, although Mikhail had never been on this side of the garden. The girl also claims that she will go this way and let Evan look for the boy on the other side. The guy agrees, but says that the lady would be better off returning to their estate because she was recently lying down with a fever. The girl replies that she feels well today and the day is so similar, and then she says that they will see each other later. At this time, Mikhail is completely alone and lost and wonders what to do, after which he screams out if there is anyone there and screams with all his might. The young man also tries to call his brother, but then he hears some sounds, and when he approaches this place, he sees that it is Edwin. The brunette is training at this time, and Mikhail, watching this, thinks how cool it is, but at this time Edwin turns to him, and the young man gets a little scared, after which he approaches the guy and asks what he is doing there, because they have a meeting planned for today. After which, the brunette just looks at him, and Mikhail claims that he is not lost and is just walking and strolling. He also claims that they need to hurry to the garden. However, at that very moment, a sword blade passes near his hands, and the young man is a little surprised, after which he looks at his hands in which there used to be a wreath, and in shock, he asks why he did it. The young man also screams for the guy to return the guilt to him, answer who he is to constantly ruin what does not belong to him, after which he also stretches his hand to the guy and claims that this will not work. However, Edwin grabs his hand, after which Mikhail screams for the guy to let him go, but he only grabs the young man by the face. And he begins to use force, after which his eyes seem to become black, and after that Mikhail also unconsciously uses force to protect himself. The brunette looks at Mikhail and thinks that something is wrong again, and the young man then asks what is wrong with him because his eyes were so creepy now, as if they were smoking. However, Edwin grabs the guy's face again, which shocks him and asks him what he's doing and tells him to let go. The brunette is wondering why everything is okay with this boy. After all, everything he touches dries up and disappears overnight. But at this time, someone else turns to Edwin, and it turns out to be the main character. Mikhail then turns to Alice, and the girl then asks with a smile on her face what they are doing. She also cannot believe that Edwin is stroking Mikhail on the cheek, but the relationship between them did not work out. That's why she was trying so hard, but behind her back they were flirting with each other. At this time, Mikhail turns to Alice and says that the guy tore her wreath again. However, then the guy gets shocked and the main character asks what is going on, but red liquid is pouring out of her nose. The girl also thinks why everything is floating like that, and then they fall to the floor. The young lady then wonders if she hasn't done enough, but everything was going so peacefully, and she thought that nothing would destroy the idyll. But it seems that the original plot will soon be destroyed. A little while later, the girl opens her eyes and wonders why she is there. Evan then turns to the lady excitedly and asks if she is awake. Mikhail is also worried about the young lady, and when she gets up, Evan claims that she has anemia, so let the girl not make any sudden movements. Alice asks what happened, and the doctor replies that the children said so. She had an epistaxis and fainted. He examined her, and then she suddenly felt unwell, so the doctor asks if the girl had felt unwell lately. The young lady replies that there is and was nothing like that, after which she realizes that she cannot believe that her health has deteriorated so much and that she suddenly lost consciousness. At this time, Mikhail shouts to Edwin that he didn't even help when the young lady fell, and when she woke up he didn't visit, so the guy asks if Edwin really considers himself a friend. At this time, Mikhail's brother tells the guy not to be rude to the young gentleman, and he screams that he is not rude and must be punished. The main character then turns to the guy, but he only looks away, after which, clenching his fists, he replies that no, and he is no longer a friend. After which, the young man and his everything turns around and leaves the room. Mikhail is still screaming and very angry after this, and the young lady just silently watches all this. A little while later, the girl says, "What a nice weather it is outside," but she can only watch all this from home. At this time, the maid turns to the mistress and says that she might get blown again, and therefore let her at least put on a blanket. Alice replies that the window is not open, and what other wind could there be there? However, the maid replies that even a seemingly trifle can harm a person when they are unwell, which is why the location of the picnic was moved. Anna also says that nothing can be done, and a few days ago the lady lost consciousness, so Mr. Evans strictly ordered not to go outside. The main character then asks if Edwin will come today. She understands that after that incident she has not seen him, and he has not left, and still lives in the estate, so she thinks why the guy is avoiding her. The girl also remembers how he said that he is no longer her friend. And she thinks why suddenly, and even after a year the relationship between these two was so bad that she began to worry, but in fact they became closer, and the girl thought that she would stay alive because she managed to change the original plot. However, her health continues to deteriorate for unknown reasons, and this time Edwin treats her as a stranger. So the girl wonders if this is an illusion, to make her think that everything is going according to the original. And now she starts to cry. The maid is surprised by this and asks if the lady is really in pain. A little while later, the main characters are already sitting at the table with Mikhail and Evan, but the girl looks at the place where Edwin should have been sitting and claims that he is apparently busy. Mikhail, then a little irritated, claims that the guy did say that they are not friends, so he asks why the girl wants to see him. The young lady then only sighs, and the doctor remembers how he came to the estate that morning. Then he saw Mr. Edwin, and the boy only claimed that he needed to know something. And he can only ask him about this, so now the doctor turns to the lady and asks her not to be so upset because of the young gentleman. The young lady is then a little surprised and asks if he has spoken to Edwin and what he knows. Evan replies that he was asked to keep it a secret and that it just happened that way. After which he claims that the girl is still a dear friend of the young gentleman Mikhail, then only sighs sadly and says that he will go to the toilet. After which the young man leaves, and Evan turns to the lady and claims that he needs to say one more thing. He then states that he must go to war, which the young lady is shocked and asks why all of a sudden and also if the Duke really called him. The girl also says that she will try to talk to him, and I have not been feeling well lately, so she will ask him to think it over again. However, the guys claim that it is not his lordship's fault, but the number of wounded is growing and military doctors and nurses are in short supply. Therefore, they can't cope with such a number of victims and mobilization is taking place all over the country, so he will go there. The main character then understands with tears in her eyes. What if things go according to the original? Then Evan will lose his life, and now she grabs him by the clothes and then screams, asking Togo not to leave, because if he leaves, he will fall into eternal sleep. Evan then turns to the lady a little puzzled, and she claims that the guy is a good person, so he will use magic to the point of exhaustion, and so bad people will notice him and want to use him, which will lead to a bad end. Or he will go into eternal sleep, going into the epicenter of the battle without trying to save many lives. The young man then silently looks at his mistress, then strokes her head and claims that he does not know why the mistress is so worried about this. But he is much more selfish than it seems, and the guy claims that Mikhail needs him and also has to look after the lady, and he is not so devoted as to sacrifice himself. So the lady need not worry because he will return alive. The young lady then wipes away her tears and claims that she wants to give him something, and also holds out a pendant and claims that it is a gift on the occasion of coming of age. This is a column of groundstone, and the girl claims that this color symbolizes luck. Alice also asks if he promises to return safe and sound, after which the guy rises from his seat, and he embraces the young lady, after which he promises. At this time in the capital of Esteban, the Duke gets out of the carriage and one of the servants greets him, after which the man asks if something happened. The butler then claims that young Master Edwin has arrived and that he has been sitting in the living room since the morning, and also said that he will wait until the Duke arrives, after which the man goes into the room where his son is sitting and asks for what reason he came without warning because he runs away from home just like Alice Gannett. After that, the young man is silent, and in the room you can hear the ticking of the clock hands. The Duke then stands up and states that if the boy has nothing to say, he will go because he has a lot to do, but the young man then turns to his father, and he claims that a strange spirit has appeared in him, after which his father only smirks and tells the boy to tell him more. The young man then claims that sometimes if he touches something living, it turns to ashes. The man then asks if the power has really developed so much, after which he claims that this is wonderful news, and the guy then asks what the father is talking about, after which he tells him to tell. The man then sits back down and claims that the magic contained within him is what they call devilish, and that it is a rare gift that appears once every few generations. The young man then asks if it is true that there was a devil among the ancestors of the Esteban family, and his father replies that yes, and he is the source of the boy's strength. This is the true reason for his imprisonment in the tower. After all, if such powerful magic is not curbed, then a catastrophe cannot be avoided, and his wound is a reaction of the mortal body to the devil's power. It cannot be cured by traditional methods. And the boy was destined to fall into a crippled sleep, because he would not be able to curb the power, and the curse placed on the chains was supposed to suppress its influence. But the young man managed to recover, and the weak human body became stronger to surpass magic. And after his story, he believes that the news is really good. He can't believe that it is his son who is endowed with such abilities, but the young man replies that he cannot control it, and Alice fainted. The man then says that this is what the guy came for, and the young man asks if his father knows what to do. The Duke replies that of course he is not endowed with such power, but he bears the last name Esteban. And to master magic capable of taking lives practice is needed, and it will take a lot of time. Edwin asks what his father wants, and he answers that he wants the boy to take part in the war on the southern front, to which the boy agrees and claims that he also has conditions. The man then tells his son to tell him what these conditions are. A little while later, the main character is already in shock and asks if Edwin is really going to go to war. The butler replies that yes. The young lady screams if this is really a joke. The child is 8 years old, and what other war can await him? But the man remains silent in response to this, and the girl screams, is he really playing like he has finally gone crazy? The butler then claims that he himself does not know, but is sure that there is a reason for this. And she also claims that the young gentleman gave her a letter. Alice asks when he is leaving, and the butler answers that tomorrow, and said that he will leave straight from the capital. The young lady then snatches the letter from his hands and heads into the corridor. The maid asks what the mistress is doing, and she says she will be out for a short while. After this, the girl heads to the capital and wonders if this is because history is developing in a different way, and the guy was supposed to stay in the tower for another 10 years, but now he has to go through difficult trials on the battlefield. And the young lady wonders if this is because there aren't enough difficulties on the protagonist's path. But what if everything goes back to normal? Edwin will do something irreparable, and then Evan and her will not be alive, so the girl thinks what she did. But then she finally understands that she should not exaggerate so much. A little while later, she runs out of the carriage, after which she sees another carriage near which the Duke is, and screams Edwin's name, after which she asks where he is. About the Duke claims that the guy left early in the morning, and the young lady wonders if he really sent him to the battlefield since the boy is only 8 years old. However, the Duke notes that such an exam is necessary, and the abilities of the heir need to be tested. Alice wonders who is risking their lives for this, because what will happen if the guy falls into eternal sleep, and the Duke replies that then they will understand that this was his limit. And the main character says that there is no person more terrible because even Mother is not so crazy. One of the servants then turns to the mistress and tells her to be more careful with her words. And the Duke replies that it was Edwin's choice and not his, and he came to him first. The girl then asks why and for what purpose, but the Duke notes that she has no time to have conversations, so he will send one of the servants with her, and let the girl return home, after which the Duke also states that they will not see each other for 10 years, so let her live in good health. The young lady then watches the carriage leave, after which she opens Edwin's sheet. There, the guy wrote that they had previously agreed to take care of each other, and she asked him not to put anyone into eternal sleep, after which the young man apologizes and claims that he is terrible, because he could not fulfill her request. However, he wrote that Alice likes beautiful things, and these are snowmen cookies and also cats, and he remembered everything, and also upon his return he will not do anything that she might not like. And the young man asked if they could become friends again. The guy who signed this sheet was Edwin, whom Alice thought was handsome. The young lady is now counting this sheet. She starts to cry. A little while later, the girl is already sitting by the mirror, and the maid is combing her hair. After which the main character invites Anna to have lunch outside the house, and they haven't been shopping for so long. The maid then agrees and claims that the weather is also good, and the young lady claims that she is the only one who doesn't have money, and asks if Anna will pay, to which the maid replies that their mistress has a great sense of humor, after which the girl already collected leaves the estate and says that then they can go. The young lady understands that it is already the 10th spring since Edwin and Evan left. The end of the largest and most terrible war in history is not at all close, and the girl realizes that they haven't seen Edwin and Evan for 10 years. Then the maids pass by the young lady and look at her a little puzzled. Then they go on. The main character understands that perhaps due to the absence of the head of the family in the estate for the last 10 years, the behavior of the servants has changed, and before Edwin's departure, everything was different. The situation changed when a rumor appeared out of nowhere that the girl was the daughter of the woman who had put the former Duchess into eternal sleep. A little while later, the young lady was already in the city, and she understands that it is unknown at what moment the Duke will throw her out of the house, but all this time she put money aside so as not to be left with a broken corite. With the help of these funds, she opened her own confectionery business, hiring the Duke's former cook. And she began to recreate recipes from her past life. As a result, the store became successful, and now the main character stands in front of it and then goes inside. And she claims that she owns both a wonderful pastry shop and the building itself. The boss at this time turns to the boss and says that she came, and the girl asks Denny how the sales are going. The woman replies that the cakes are so good that even the boss can taste them. The young lady then smirks and claims that if things go on like this, she will become rich. And the woman then also giggles and claims that if this is the case, then the boss will also become rich. And the young lady then suddenly asks, what if the Duke upon his return is unhappy with her taking his people? The chef then turns to the young lady and claims that she arrived on time, so let her try this macaron before leaving. After which the main character eats it, but at the same moment someone bursts into the confectionery. It turns out to be Mikhail, and he speaks a little irritated, so that he would tell her not to indulge in sweets. A little while later, they are already sitting at the table with tea and cake. The young lady then hands the guy a piece and tells him to try it, because it is very sweet. However, after this, the young man only looks at her a little embarrassedly, and the main character asks if he will, and he likes strawberries, to which the young man replies that he will. But then he asks why she is dressed so lightly, and the girl replies that it is warm outside. The young man says that he has already told her that even in a dispute with an ant, she cannot win. So he asks why she is so sure if she gets sick every time the season changes, and the main character then replies that yes, and she understood everything, so her dear doctor is not angry. 2 years ago, the guy became a doctor, and after he was appointed, her personal doctor, he became too protective of her, and it was difficult to constantly compare his strong health thanks to the magical village with hers. And she can't help but admire how he is absolutely always worried about her, and even in comparison with Evan, he is more severe. The young man at this time hands her a ball and tells her to put it on because it is even colder outside. The main character then looks at him and says how beautiful it is, after which she asks what kind of shawl it is. The guy replies that he bought it on the way there, after which he is a little embarrassed. He extends his hand to her, and the main character puts a shawl there for him and asks if he is really giving it, and immediately takes it back, but the young man only says that she irritates him. After which they head under one of the trees, and the guy asks if it really works. The main character claims that the absence of news is also good news, and isn't that so? After which she places a pebble on a pile of stones and claims that both Evan and Edwin will be fine. Michael then also places a pebble on this pile, after which they both pray. The main character also turns to Mikhail and asks if Evan has contacted him. The guy replies that he hasn't, and claims that as a girl, he says that the absence of Vesti is also good news. Although it is a bit strange that he has not written even once in 10 years, but he still thinks that everything is fine with his brother. The young lady then thinks that this is true, and suggests that I think about the bad, after which she replies that yes, and they should trust and continue to wait. The young lady then asks the guy if he is interested in whether Edwin wrote, and he asks why Mikhail also claims that due to his character, it is clear that he will not write anything. And he didn't tell her anything, he just left leaving a letter, so he asks why he should worry about such a tenacious person, and he still doesn't like him one bit. The main character then thinks that even so, the guy is probably worried, and now no matter how much the relationship between the two main characters grows distant and breaks down, but in the end, she knows that everything will come to the original plot, and of course, she will help their relationship not to fall apart completely. So now the girl turns to Mikhail and claims that the last year the war has been rapidly moving towards Elgor. Since Edwin became Commander, Mikhail then turns around and claims that it would be nice if it were true, But in any case, he hopes that the war will end as soon as possible. The Duke at this time enters one of the tents and claims that it is finally over. He also understands that the situation exceeds all his expectations. And he didn't think that the guy would be so useful, but he has been obediently doing his job for 10 years, after which he turns to one of the roomers and asks how old the guy is now. He replies that he is 17, and the Duke claims that the young man has matured, and this is a good chance. And also, upon returning to the duchy, they will go to the palace. At this time, someone puts a newspaper under the young lady's shop and claims that fresh news has arrived. The young lady then picks up the newspaper and thinks, is it really at such a time that she sees the headline that the 10-year war ended with the victory of the Elgor Empire? And the main character in shock asks if the war is really over. It also says that in 2 days, the Imperial Army will return to their homeland, and the girl understands that she will be able to see Edwin. The young lady also looks out onto the street where everyone is rejoicing that it is finally over and they have won. They also say that glory to His Majesty the Emperor and their country. One of the women then tells them to come into her shop because she treats them to fruit, and someone else suggests raising glasses, and also let the residents come to them. Also, someone claims that today is a holiday and everything is free. And the main character then just smirks and thinks about what she wants to say and then screams that today is also in Delhi Melly. All the baked goods are free. A little while later, the young lady approaches the tower, and when she climbs all those steps, she realizes that this hasn't happened for a long time. And she's terribly exhausted. The young lady also opens the door and realizes that it was so unexpected, and she returned late at night and for the first time in 10 years. Well, the young lady now realizes that she can't sleep, so she constantly tosses and turns, and memories came flooding back. But she met the guy as a child, and they spent a lot of time together, and the original Alice was immersed in a crippled sleep. That's where the young lady now spreads a blanket on the ground and went to sit on it. Then she says that tomorrow is her 17th birthday, and the original Alice goes into eternal sleep at 17. After that, the girl lies down on the blanket and claims that she is not going to lie down in a grave there. After which, she looks at the whole situation in this room and wonders why Edwin suddenly went to war, but then someone answers that he cannot find the answer to this question. And the young lady gets up in shock and also thinks who it is and then asks who is there, but the guy only comes closer to her and then takes off his hood. And the young lady asks if it is Edwin. The young lady also remembers the events that are supposed to happen in the novel and wonders if he is going to put her into eternal sleep now. However, the young man only approaches her, after which the girl touches his face and says that it is indeed him. The guy replies that yes, and tells Alice that he has returned. After which he takes her hand, and the girl asks if he wasn't supposed to come back in a few days, and the pony replies that he missed her. But the main character still asks how he knew that she was there. And the young man just turns around and the girl realizes that he is still the same, after which she says that it doesn't matter, and with a smile on her face asserts that she missed him too. She also congratulates Edwin on his return and understands that if he doesn't hate her, then everything is fine, after which she tells the guy to sit down in the council. She just arrived recently, so she is tired, so they can rest a little and go. The girl also claims that she has many questions for him, but at the same moment she sneezes, and the young man puts his hand on her forehead. Alice asks if she has a fever. And the guy replies that no, but she sweated a lot, and if you go out into the cold, after sweating, you can catch a cold. Alice replies that everything will be fine, but the young man replies that it won't. The main character then remembers Mikhail, who says that she is no stronger than an ant, and claims that the guy is right when he says to believe, but she is weaker than a speck of dust. The young man then covers her with his cape and apologizes to Alice. The main character then asks what he is doing, but the guy only lifts her up in his arms. After which he takes her out of the tower. The main character then asks what he is doing, but the young man only stands on the railing of the stairs and then jumps off, and also flies to the very bottom, and the main character then screams what is happening and claims that it is so strange, but the young man at this time turns to Alice and says that they can be friends. After which he lands softly on the floor and claims that they are there, but when he looks at Alice, then he sees that she has passed out from fear. A little while later, the guy is already sitting next to her bed. Mikhail then runs into the room worried about the young lady and screams her name, but at that very moment, the brunette grabs him by the mouth and tells the guy to be quiet. Mikhail then asks what he is doing, but the brunette says that first the guy should examine the young lady, after which Mikhail says that if only he were not so stupid. But then he examines the young lady, and Mikhail also asks what symptoms, and the brunette answers that she sweated and then got caught in a cold wind, and Alice spent a lot of time in a dusty room and then lost consciousness from fright. Mikhail then asks how this is possible, but claims that in any case there is nothing serious there because the pulse is normal, and Edwin then asks if he is sure, and also if his hand is steady, and if he is really better than Evan. However, Mikhail then furiously grabs the guy by the clothes and asks if he wants to check, but then the guys hear some kind of rustling, and when they turn around they see that the young lady has already woken up. At this time, Alice, with puppy eyes, watches all this and apologizes for interrupting them, and also tells them to continue in the same spirit, to which the guys are surprised and ask, "What does continue mean?" After which the girl sits down on the sofa, and the brunette asks if she is okay. The girl answers that yes, she is fine, after which she asks Mikhail if there is anything he wants to ask Edwin. The guy then turns to him and asks if he knows where his brother is. Edwin replies that he doesn't, and Mikhail asks what that means and how he can be a commander. The young man also asks if his brother is alive and wonders if the guy really doesn't know that. Edwin claims that the last time he saw him was 9 years ago, and Evan saved him when he was on the verge of falling into a crippling sleep, and soon after he was redirected to strengthen the forces of the Holy See, and then disappeared. The main character then realizes in shock that in the original, Evan falls into a crippled sleep a year after the start of the war, but if at that very moment Evan was saving Edwin, then he most likely survived. But then the young lady thinks, where the hell could he have gone? And the last time he was in the territories of the Holy Throne, so the girl thinks that he was caught using magic. Alice also understands that later she will need to send a letter there, after which she turns to Mikhail and tells him not to worry, because with him everything will be fine. The young man then replies that yes, and Edwin, seeing how the young lady is holding the guy's hand, also takes her hand in his. The girl then asks, "What is it?" And when the young man looks at her expectantly, the main character tells him to come to her and then hugs him and also thanks him for that he returned safe and sound. The young lady also turns to Michael and suggests that he also go there and they can all hug together. However, the guy replies that he doesn't want to and that this guy is bad. The next morning, the young lady wakes up and realizes that it's already noon, but she slept well yesterday. It was the first time in a long time that she had spoken to the two of them, so time flew by. Then the young lady heard someone knocking on the door and asked if it was Anna. The young lady immediately opens the door and says that Anna is there and also asks about Edwin, but when the young lady opens her eyes, she sees that it is Edwin and asks what he is doing there. The young man replies that he was waiting for Alice to wake up because you can't take such long breaks between meals. The young lady then thanks him and asks if he has eaten, yet after which she suggests eating together. The guy then just repeats the word together. The young lady then asks if something is wrong. The young man touches her hair. Their main character asks if he is surprised how her hair has grown. The guy replies that yes, and they are beautiful, and Alice understands that Mikhail thinks that they look like a dog's tail. The brunette at this time turns to the young lady, and he claims that he will leave every lock of hair in his memory, to which the young lady only tells him not to waste his memory in vain, after which she thinks that the guy is almost glowing. At this time, Mikhail also turns to them and asks why they are standing in the doorway. The young lady then says that the guy is just in time and asks if he is really in a hurry on business again, after which she also offers to have a bite together. The young man then asks what she is talking about and says no, but then he gets a little embarrassed and asks why the girl is walking around like that. Alice replies that her opponents are waiting in her room, that he doesn't want to hear anything, so let her at least wash her face, but the girl claims that she washed her face before going to bed. At this time, Edwin turns to Alice and says that her eyelashes are stuck together, after which he unsticks them, and the main character is a little embarrassed. He thanks Edwin, and she understands that apparently they really are stuck together, but she feels a little ashamed, after which she immediately takes these two out. And he slams the door, after which he claims that they should wait for her because she will change her clothes and come out, after which the two do just that. But when they exchange glances, it's as if they're suggesting that each other get out of there. A little while later, the main character is already in her bakery. The maid then asks if the lady is saying that Master Edwin has returned, and asks if he has really arrived so soon. The young lady replies that yes, and it seems that he arrived first and the rest of the soldiers have a long way to go. They set up camp and the guy finds it boring, so he came, after which the young lady also claims that the egg tart should be put out again. But the maid doesn't look very cheerful after that, and the main character asks what's wrong, and the woman replies that in childhood the guy was certainly full of charm, but she can't even imagine how scary the gentleman has become since then. The main character also says that he has only become prettier. The maid at this time only claims that the mistress's words do not inspire faith. At this time, someone comes into this bakery and asks for one portion of tiramisu. The main character then agrees and greets him. But she thinks how familiar this voice is, and when she turns around, it's the Duke's visit, and she almost screams his name. But the man tells her to be quiet. After that, he eats dessert and claims that the desserts were made by the Duke's former chef, and the taste is even too good for such a small establishment. The main character then asks if he wants a share of the profits, and the man claims that she loves to joke. The young lady then turns to the Duke and says that his lordship was supposed to lead the procession of soldiers, and asks them if he should have returned to the applause of their people. The man answers that everything is correct, and asks the young lady why, and in his thoughts adds why he has already arrived and is sitting there picking at the cake. The man replies that he didn't want to attract attention to himself, and the young lady wonders if this is an unusual thing, and if he really came here leaving his conscience on the battlefield. The Duke at this time turns to Alice Gannett and states that she is 17 years old this year, and her birthday is April 17th, and that she is also an Aries according to the zodiac sign. The main character then thinks if he really knows, after which she asks if he wants to see what is destined for her, and the man asks what she is talking about, after which the young lady replies that nothing, and let him continue. And the Duke then claims that in 2 weeks there will be a victory banquet at the palace and she will go there. The girl claims that she doesn't even have an invitation, after which she asks why she should go, and the Duke claims that he is going to formally introduce her to society. A little while later, the girl is already near a house and realizes that she has not been there for a long time, after which she knocks but no one answers her, and the young lady thinks that it is strange to believe that the guy should be at home, after which the young lady only gets offended and screams for Mikhail to leave because she came. However, the young man then asks why she doesn't just break down the door. The main character then asks what that smell is and whether he's been drinking. However, the young man only wonders why she showed up, to which the main character replies that she was worried and tormented by the question of why he took the day off, and it turns out he just has a hangover. The guy then replies that yes, and asks if she is happy now, and the young lady replies that no, and that's not all, after which she hands him a suitcase and asks her to forgive her. Then the young lady comes into the house, and the guy asks what this means, and claims that he did not give permission. The main character then goes inside and realizes that nothing has changed at all, and everything is in its place, just like 10 years ago when Evan left. After this, Mikhail just closes the door and remains silent, and the young lady asks if it isn't hard to maintain all this alone without servants. After all, the house is not small. The young man replies that in any case, he has no other concerns except for her health, and in his free time he can do his own thing, after which the young man goes to the sofa and sits down on it. He claims to know that he looks like a fool, and constantly sends letters to the Holy See and does not receive an answer. And he can't find out if his brother will come back at all. Alice replies that it's not stupid at all, and she would say that it's surprising because, is it Evan? He won't be happy to return to such a familiar house. The young man then just turns around and asks what's there, and whether she bought anything. After all, she took it to the kitchen, and the girl replies that yes, and now she will bring it, after which she brings a cake. And when they eat it, the main character asks how he can see it from the cafe's new menu, and the guy replies that it's delicious. But then he asks why she came, and the young lady then asks what he just said, and the guy asks why she actually came and also whether his house is really a coffee shop for her. The girl only claims that it was delicious, and the guy wonders if she will continue to test his patience, after which the young lady says that it is good, and she has a request. After all, she goes to a banquet at the palace and asks if he can join her. The guy then asks if she is talking about the banquet, and shouldn't a girl live quietly and below the grass? And the main character replies that she thought so too, but the Duke claimed that he intended to introduce her to the public. The girl then asked what her friend was doing, and the man replied that it was so that she would officially become a member of the family. Now Mikhail is just silent, after which he asks what she thinks about this and whether it will be okay if Esteban joins the family. The main character replies that she doesn't know, and Mikhail asks if that guy knows Alice, claims that he didn't say anything, and probably not yet. The young man then claims that he doesn't know, and if he had known, he wouldn't have kept silent. The young lady then remembers how the young man said that she was not brother and sister, after which she realizes that this happened in childhood, and thinks what she should do if the guy hates her, because she's not particularly happy about it either, to be honest. At this time, Mikhail claims that he agrees, and when the young lady asks what this is about, he claims that he says that he is not against becoming her partner. The main character then asks with a smile on her face if this is true, after which she thanks the guy, but then she suddenly remembers one episode from the novel. All the aristocrats whispered and claimed that this was unheard of, since in the entire history of the empire, such a thing had never happened. They also asked how two men came to the banquet as a couple, and the main characters are now interested. Wasn't Mikhail planning to go to the banquet with Edwin, but the guy just asks in shock if the girl really hit her head. One of the knights at this time tells something to the gentleman, and the brunette then asks if Alice will really attend the banquet, to which the knight replies that yes, and they want to officially introduce Mrs. Alice. Edwin then asks if the knight is interested in what good this will do, but he doesn't know what to say. The brunette tells the guy to go and find out, to which he agrees and claims that he is bowing out. The main character at this time goes into her room and lies down on the bed, thinking that she would just like to lie in bed all day long, but then the girl suddenly sees some silhouette on her sofa and in shock thinks what it is. The young lady, frightened, also wonders if this is a new way of intimidation, and before they bothered her by knocking on the door, and now they come in unceremoniously, after which the young lady looks at the man lying on the sofa more closely and realizes that it is Edwin. The young lady also understands that she has already managed to get scared, but then she does not understand why he is sleeping there. In the original, the young man invited Michael to a banquet after ascending to the throne, and the original plot changed and their relationship still hasn't gone that far. But even if so, they most likely want to be together, so the young lady says that the guy has grown up and no longer sleeps on the floor. The young lady also runs her hand through his hair, and then the young man opens his eyes, and the main character realizes that he has woken up. The guy just grabs her hand and puts it to his face, after which the young lady asks what he is doing, and he understands that most likely he is not fully awake. At this time, the young man turns to Alice, and he claims that he heard that she was going to a banquet, after which the young lady asks if he knows, and the guy is wondering if she has found a partner for herself, because if not, he will accompany her. The young lady then wonders if he has heard of her being introduced as a member of the family, and states that she has decided Edwin wonders who she is going with. And the young lady, with a smile on her face, replies that with Mikhail, after which the young man looks at her a little coldly, and asks what she is talking about. The girl once again asserts that she is going with Mikhail, after which the guy asserts if she goes to the banquet she will get a lot of attention, so he suggests taking Anna as a partner. The main character then thinks about what he is talking about and realizes that in the original, the guy confidently entered the hall together with Mikhail. And maybe the lack of prejudice played a role, after which she claims that you can't go with a partner of the same sex, and he knows it. And the guy then claims that he will go with them, and the young lady is surprised, and Edwin, he claims that he is scared, after which he lies down on the young lady's shoulder and claims that it is for him. Accustomed to life in the tower and battle darkness is much more familiar to him, and he is afraid of that people will stare at him at the reception. He also claims that he doesn't really want to go and hold a stranger's hand. So he asks Alice not to refuse him. The young lady is a little embarrassed seeing him, after which she claims that it's okay, and the three of them can go in, to which the guy thanks her.